Oh, this morning, sorry. I hope everyone is having a lovely day. And yeah, thank you for joining us for this new episode of Hippy Dippy Recruitment. Uh, ooh, I don't know whose mic is doing this. Yeah. Chance of Flurry, your mic is doing a weird noise. I don't know why.
Oh, dude, I like it. I like it.
Alexa.
I like it. Hot.
All right. Anyway, Hippy Dippy Recruitment every Sunday, 6 p.m. EST. Yeah, and hosted by me and co-hosted by CTV, Critically Thinking Veteran. How are you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, and I want to welcome everyone to the Hippy Dippy Sunday show, where you, bright young minds, are trying to get a spot right on the show happening here on Friday nights, Twitch Politics. Everybody knows it; they love it. It's called the Hippy Dippy Podcast. Right? Am I right, folks? So from there, right, you're all here Sunday to have a good conversation, get to know some people. Let us know what your meme game is, right? How entertaining can you be? This is what this is your moment to shine, right? Not only from an intellectual standpoint, but from a charismatic standpoint. That's what it's all about, folks. So I'm looking forward to having the conversations with everybody tonight. We're going to do so in the best of spirits, trying to put a smile on each other's face. Because at the end of the day, if you can't smile, right, all you're going to do is just end up being a miserable little fuck, and nobody's going to be around you. And I don't want to be that guy, right? So from here, Geek, you decided where we go, but let's go around the room with some introductions.
Hell yeah. And let's start with Desmond. How are you doing?
I'm good. My name is Desmond Price. I am the host of the Independent Thought podcast, and you can find that podcast about anywhere that you want to look for a podcast. And I'm just excited to be here. Thanks for having me here today.
Hell yeah. Thank you for coming back. Always a pleasure. Trick Switch, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good morning. How are you
I'm
doing?
still waking up. It's in the morning, and I went to bed at like 2, so I'm really pumped for today. I love these things. Live, laugh,
Hell yeah.
love.
I think we're covering the whole clock here. For me, it's midnight. For you, it's the morning. For people, it's 6, like basically the afternoon. So yeah, we got everything covered. But yeah, thank you for joining us. The Splunker, how are you doing?
Doing well. I'm loving CTV's enthusiasm. I'm more excited now after hearing his intro here, and yeah, I'm a co-host with the Chance of Flurry, Carl. I'm his co-host on our podcast. We're from Canada. How do you do?
Yeah. Always happy to have you on board. Well, let's rate to Chance of Flurry. How are you doing, Cal?
Oh, I'm good. So yeah, my name's Carl. I'm with the Splonker. We co-host the Chance of Flurry show together. We're Canadian. So right now we're in the midst of an election, which is interesting. But yeah, we're here to talk about unions. It's gonna be good.
Hell yeah. Hardwood and Suck. What's up?
What's up? As always, thank you for having me, Geek. I haven't been as much of a presence recently, with the new job and everything, but I appreciate being here. Moderate conservative, just looking to have a good conversation about some fancy unions.
Hell yeah. Now let's throw it to someone who deserves absolutely no introduction. The Sprouticus. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing all right. I'm also a host of a podcast that's coming up this Monday. Not their podcast, but a podcast that's coming up this Monday. So stay tuned for that. But I'm excited to get in this conversation. I'm a constitutionalist conservative. I'm sure if you've watched any panels on Twitch, you've seen my face before. Go to twitch.tv/TheSprouticus. Give it a follow. Give it a sub. Go to twitter.com/TheSprouticus and give it a follow.
Yeah. And last but not least, No Justice. How are you doing?
Yeah, right. I'm doing very, very well, thank you. Thank you for the invite. It's much appreciated. Glad to be here. My name's No Justice. My handles there, basically all the socials. I'm a leftist, trade unionist, trans advocate, pathologic player, Britbonger rights activist, all the good stuff. It's good to be back.
Hell yeah. So let's go over the rules real quick. So as you know, there's a change in the format. Instead of going for 3 topics for 3 hours, we're going to try to make it shorter, to keep everyone energy at top level. So yeah, we're gonna have one one fun topic, one serious topic, and one fun topic to finish on a good note. So yeah. Sorry. I heard someone. No? Okay, never mind. Yeah, so for the rules, same thing applies. We're going to go opening statement, period where you can engage, closing statement. You cannot interrupt during opening and closing. Which, depending on the fun topics, we might do opening statement, we'll see. But yeah. So yeah, don't interrupt during opening and closing. Also, rule number one, when I talk, nobody talk. The only person allowed to interrupt me is CTV, and it's not to give his opinion, it's to co-host, you know? But yeah, no, that's the rule number one. So yeah, I'm not here to give my opinion, I'm just here to moderate. Besides that, nothing TOS, obviously, no one wants to get banned. Respect each other, you know, don't interrupt too much and everything. Also, if you want to chime in and you see that like people are already engaged and everything, raise your hand. Keep that as a last resort. Try to jump in as much as possible. But yeah, if you see that it's really impossible, yeah, raise your hand. But usually I will try to give you the mic and everything. So yeah, with that being said, CTV, anything to add?
You know, I'm loving the fact that we got lots of panel hosts in here. So it should make moderation for you just to be a fucking breeze, right? And that means that since everybody understands that, the charisma, right, of those arguments is going to be able to come out so that you can capture the minds of the people and bring the board forth, right, the best possible fucking show of yourself that you can, right? Because when you do that, what you're ultimately going to do is you might end up having a chance to go for what? Oh, that's right. It's called the Hippy Dippy Championship belts. Anybody else
shit.
been in the run-ins for this thing? Y'all got to know it's gonna take that to get it. You got to know. So let's hear it tonight.
I've been there. I've been there, CTV.
Yeah. We got two true veterans of the Hippy Dippy in every sense of the way. But yeah. Okay, with that being said, let's jump right into the first topic. So this one, I will ask you to consider this as like a chance to open up, to say stuff about yourself that you might not want to share. Anyway, here's the first topic, because I will be judging you silently. All right. If you had to swap your legs with the legs of any other animal, which animal would you choose and why? And I think for this one, we're going to go for a really short opening statement, like trying to keep it like 30 seconds, really. But yeah, let out your furry side, you know, get your spirit animal, just the legs, just the bottom half of the body. All right, and we're going to throw it to Desmond.
God, I'll have to go first. Man, that's a weird question.
It is a good question. I love it.
I guess a monkey, so I could hang from trees. Sounds like fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
Decent answer. The Splunker.
Yeah, I think I might have to go like a monkey gorilla. I was thinking kangaroo maybe. It has to be something where I can still be upright and use my hands. Yeah, I would go gorilla.
All right. CTV. What's your opinion?
Well, I'm surprised nobody said it, right? I mean, these guys look like the kind of guys that would have such a brilliant answer such as this, but it's obvious if you just have a look back in mythology that, you know, replacing your legs with that of a centaur, right? And going full fucking minotaur with that shit is the only way to fucking do it.
Decent answer. Trick switch.
Yeah.
Hold on. First of all, a minotaur was the opposite. A minotaur was human legs and then with the top half animal. So you fucked that up. Second of all, the best
There you
answer
go.
for this question is clearly a large bird, such as an emu or a flamingo or a cassowary. Not only do their knees bend backwards, I want to be tall. I'm 5'2". I'm looking to gain some extra height through this transaction. Think smart.
I mean, that's a good goal. Hardwood and suck.
I don't know. I'd probably have to go with like a cheetah or something, you know. So this way, it's like if I'm ever like, you know, jumping off a cliff or jumping off a building, I'll probably land on my feet because I'll have at least part cat in me, you know, and then maybe I'll have like 4.5 lives instead of just one, you know. I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, all around. It's a pretty safe bet. Plus, I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Yeah. All right, Chance of Flurry.
Clarification. Trick
Okay,
switch.
go ahead.
That's why I said centaur to begin with, and then said through Greek mythology, go full on minotaur, right? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, I gotta go chimp bottom half because one, it's gonna make things way more convenient. Like I'm still gonna be able to like get through buildings and stuff. Like if I've got a bottom half horse, you know, good luck getting in places. But so I'm going chimp half, and it gives me an extra set of hands. So.
All right, and no justice.
Assuming we're going to say that it's going to be proportionally the same as the rest of your body. So if you choose a smaller animal, they get extrapolated to be within proportion of the rest of your body. In which case, I would go with a flea, and I would be able to jump like fucking sick shit. That'd be so good.
Nice. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, so we have how many people in here wanted to be a monkey? Like have a monkey?
Do I get a say?
Oh, yeah,
Do I get a little intro?
Literally the most
Oh.
boring.
Oh, yeah.
I was just curious.
I forgot.
Well,
Sprout.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I forgot. My bad. That's on me.
I gotta go similar, not the exact same as CTV, but I gotta go with donkey. It kind of takes that centaur vibe, right? And then, well, you know what else they say about donkeys, so we'll leave that there.
Yeah, they're fucking Democrats. Thanks for outing yourself.
Oh, that's not it. But hey, I've been kicked out of the Conservative Party twice this week. Give me a third. Come on.
The infighting has begun.
All right. So 3 of you want to be monkeys, right? Like have a monkey lower half,
Yep.
Hell yeah.
right? But how are you going to run away from your predators? You know, like because
We're gonna
You're
confront them.
you're gonna confront them with what? You know,
Dude, you
like
can hold 2 sets of guns.
Fuck yeah, man.
You got
that's true. But then how are you standing though? You're kind of just laying on your back then at that point, right?
Well, if you got 4 guns, you're good.
Apes can
Yeah.
stand. What are you talking about?
But for clarity, Mr. Geek, just to confirm, in this particular instance, are we replacing our whole bottom half from the waist down, or is it just the
Yes.
legs from the pelvis attachment? Oh, okay, because that improves the people who've gone for monkey or any kind of ape descendant, because that means that you continue to keep your same reproductive organs, right? Which has lots of implications. Obviously, I don't particularly want to have to exchange them with the fleas at this point, do I?
Wait a second. No, he said from the waist down, so they would theoretically be replacing that.
Yeah,
Waist
that's my
down,
point.
that
From the
means you
waist
also
down, yeah.
gain a tail.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
this
gain
reopens
a
the
tail.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Wait, did we
Yeah.
stop
This is
forgetting
actually a
like
great
where's
Yeah.
that particular organ is on creatures
It gets
of this
replaced.
nature?
That's what I'm saying. It gets
It gets
replaced.
replaced.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing.
On a flea? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
not the flea.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
'cause
no,
I'm
no,
the
that
person
one's
who's not
different.
chosen a mammal in this
Monkeys.
instance, right? You've all chosen
Monkeys.
mammals that have like similar reproductive systems to organs. I've shot myself right in the foot here. The new foot that I've just accumulated apparently. So
Yeah.
Well, we've all chosen animals. You've chosen insect. You've completely
Yeah.
off topic.
Insect's an animal.
Well, like,
that is true.
I was gonna say though, if we didn't have to pick like a landlocked animal, like I probably would have gone with like a dolphin or something, you know, because like their fins are powerful as hell. And
Would
then,
you
like,
even want to live in the
I wouldn't
water?
start going straight
I don't know,
mermaid
yeah.
with this.
I would
Or
love to
it's
live in
I'm
the
gonna be a
water.
mermaid, okay?
Yo, that sounds great. You know, it sounds like freedom. You know
But
what
dude,
I mean?
you can't
It's
breathe
like
underwater.
vast
Like,
ocean. I know,
Just
but
your
you
bottom
can,
half, bro.
I know, but I'm saying
you'd just
like,
be trapped in the water forever.
Yeah,
to
but
be fair,
Average
dolphins
lifespan of a
also.
duck.
To be fair,
I thought
dolphins also can't breathe underwater. So if he's choosing the bottom half of dolphin, they also can't breathe underwater.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm fine going underwater for a little bit and then
But
popping
you got
up
like a
and then,
human, like
I know, you know, but like
be underwater for like
yeah,
a minute.
like,
can
but
also
think
see
about
them,
it. Think
right?
about it. Like the ocean is so free. You know what I mean? Like you can go anywhere. Like there's more ocean than there is land. So basically, I have more
I'm-
territory to explore than you do, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
And
good
I
luck
can
when
be
a
I mean,
shark
you
comes
can't-
up on you and you're just a human top half.
I'm faster.
Actually, you're
Yeah.
not
Even if
faster.
you're faster in the
You're not
water,
faster.
that
The
doesn't
reason
mean-
sharks are scared of dolphins is because of their nose. So you've accepted the bottom half of the dolphin, but you've completely forgotten that the top half is why sharks are scared of dolphins.
I mean, if we're gonna
Well,
if we're gonna
I'd
have a look
travel
at
around
animals,
with like a
oh, go for it,
spear or
sorry.
something. No, go ahead. Sorry, Jeff.
Because if we're going to go for animals that can go underwater, then what's the best bet than other to go for an amphibian, right? Be a newt, and then you can go underwater and also go on land as well. You're not pigeonholing yourself into one specific area.
Yeah, but doesn't that really come down to a conversation about like how deep you're actually trying to go? I mean, because if
That's
you,
true, that's true.
that's true. The amphibians can't go as deep as some of your deeper water.
And
animals,
I've
so-
been known to enjoy going deep, so that's fair criticism.
That's typically
But
CTV.
if
That's,
you've
that's
got, like,
typically
human
because of
lungs
the
and
lungs,
stuff,
though.
like,
Yeah,
that
that's
can-
typically because of the lungs of the animal of how deep they can go. You've still got human lungs, so you've got like 60 seconds underwater before you have to like
Yeah.
desperately have to go back up.
Sure.
I can have
If it's-
breathing apparatus.
Yeah, literally, if you get the equipment, if you swapped your bottom half for like a giant squid, you would be unstoppable. Nothing. You wouldn't even have to worry about like sharks and shit. You're a giant squid. What are they gonna do about it?
Yeah, you got
Literally
so
get a
many.
s- buy a snorkel.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many tentacles there too. So
I a snorkel.
like,
A snorkel means that you're just gonna
Yeah.
sit at the top. You're just
Well,
gonna sit
yeah.
at the top.
How deep do you want to go? There's nothing at the
Buy
bottom
a
of the
snorkel.
ocean. Why would you want to live at the bottom of the ocean? There's nothing there.
I mean, if I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of the
Right.
ocean,
That's your
that's where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna want to visit underneath and not just be like on the surface of the water the entire time. Imagine like the severity of the sunburn you'd be getting, right? If you just
With
snorkeled
like
your
a
entire
plastic
life.
straw.
Nah, you'd get tan as hell though, because like you would adapt
Oh,
right,
sunburn.
to all that sunlight.
You would not
No.
adapt.
You
You would get skin cancer. Real quick.
Evolution does not work like that, my friend.
Well, I mean, over time, you know what I mean. After like millions
No.
of generations of
That's
myself.
assuming you're, that's
Right.
assuming you're
Your midlife
reproducing.
give you a
Yeah.
more-
How are you reproducing? What are you reproducing with your dolphin lower half?
I
Yeah,
guess
you're
you're
gonna have to
dolphin,
survive.
you know what I mean? And then we make like a quarter human, you know, and it's like a quarter human, 3/4 dolphin.
yeah,
You
but
know,
in
and then-
reality, you're going to have to survive the first generation before you get to those years of evolution you're talking about, right?
Nah, you'd be alright. You know, I think
Every great plan in history starts off that way. Ah, you'll be all right.
Fuck the way evolution works. All right, you'd be all right. Just go
you'll be
do it.
good. You know, like I don't know. See, I feel like when you're like landlocked though, like there's so many more people, and like I don't like when there's like a lot of people around me. So
Oh.
you know, which is another reason why
Well,
I
there's
picked
even
cheetah
more
because I
fish in
can
the
run.
ocean.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot more space in the ocean. You know, like there's so much that we haven't even discovered yet at this point. So
I think we
in
discovered
reality,
Dude, where are you gonna sleep?
no,
Also, I'm
in
guessing
the
that we
ocean.
can't-
I think we know
No,
what
I actually hate seafood, so like
Well,
that would
then,
be like a big
That's
downfall.
our only
for me.
option, dude.
It would be a big downfall for me, no
Yeah,
doubt.
exactly. So I wouldn't do that.
So,
You know,
like, I guess maybe can we mod? I mean, you did kind of allude to like full on furry thing earlier. So then, like, I guess the next step of the evolution of this, right, is to just say which animal would you actually want to be and why, right?
Hmm.
That seems to be like, you know,
We're doing full animal now? Because that
Well,
changes my answer.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's a
I
different
changed my
answer.
answer.
That's
I
a
think
different
that's-
answer.
I think, yeah, and I think that's probably like evolved this thing because, I mean, when you're trying to put the restrictions of the human body onto this thing, it really comes down to more of a form of function, right? But
I mean,
if you
no
can
one
take
had
on the
anything to
full
say-
capabilities, you know what I mean? Then like the conversation really expands. So
No one had anything to say about the donkey, right? No one came after me for choosing a donkey, so I
Well,
obviously
I would
got the
say
correct
we did,
answer,
but,
right?
you know.
I
Actually,
just
I already
think
did.
it says a lot about you. That's all I have to say.
Why didn't you choose
Yeah, it's
the
really
horse?
boring.
It's boring.
Yeah, donkey's such like a donkey, horse, and monkey. I think are really like boring. That's like the equivalent of being like, oh, my favorite animal's a dog. Like, it's
Yes,
the
it's a
very
real tier
safest
zero.
bet.
We're not trying to, impress anyone. I'm trying to go
mean,
with utility.
I'm
and,
thinking about like effectiveness. It's effective.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
it's
what-
robust.
I'm not trying to
you know what I mean?
mean?
Other people
Okay.
are saying like
With my
flea,
answer.
dolphin tail, like those aren't effective. They didn't think about like the long term effects. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what? It'd be cool to go that deep underwater, but you completely forgot you've got human lungs. So I mean, no one had anything to say against donkey. It's boring.
Well, I
Yeah,
have
it's
this to
boring
say
because
Would
against
it
donkey
works.
legs? Would donkey legs
donkey-
increase your carry capacity? Like, would you be able to carry more shit as a result of having mule legs?
If it's from the waist down, then yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
100%.
why wouldn't you pick the
Yeah.
horse? Is the donkey stronger than the horse in that subject? Because the donkey's just a smaller horse, isn't he?
It is a
You
smaller
wanna
horse.
go-
More
And I would-
compact, easier to take.
It's more
places.
compact.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there was ever a reason for you to want to call yourself a jackass, I mean, go right ahead.
Maybe that's the...
Hey, I'm an asshole, but I'll make you smile.
I really like
All
seeing
right.
Sprout's skin get so thick. I love it. I love how his skin's thickened up.
Are we picking
Alright.
animals now?
No,
Full
I
animals?
think we're going to jump into like the main topic right now.
Oh,
but
goodness,
before
here we
we
go.
do so, I just want to tell you why you're all wrong. The only right answer is bear.
the bear.
Those things can walk for miles and miles and miles. They evolved to be good on land and in the water. Like they have retractable claws and everything. It's perfect. I don't know why no one is choosing this. Anyway,
I wasn't
Uh,
thinking about killing things. But...
I mean,
Let's talk about
Why-
operating human
you could
society.
shred a chicken,
Yeah,
chicken
that's
with
what I
your
was going
foot,
for.
you know?
Wait a
But
minute,
then
where's
we eat and
Danimo? We,
everything.
we know that the only correct answer is Lego Batman, right?
Oh,
True.
yeah, he's
She
right.
already typed it.
You already typed it.
But anyway, yeah, let's jump. Yeah, I think it was a fun topic. Let's jump into the main one, which is. All right. That's a little bit weird to change from fun to serious like this, but yeah, okay. Labor unions use a tactic referred to as collective bargaining to improve workers' conditions, advance wages, and secure benefits, as well as supporting members in disputes with management and engaging in political action and lobbying. Do you think in the year 2021, labor unions have outlived their usefulness, or do you believe labor unions are important safeguard for the American workers? All right, that's a tough one. And with that, I'm going to throw it to the Splunker.
Uh-oh. Well,
Thanks for
the
follows,
question
guys.
is,
Much appreciated.
2021, do I think they've outlived their usefulness?
Oh, cheers to
I
the raid,
think I
Chuds.
take
Hey,
everything
what up,
on
raiders?
an individual basis. So even when it comes to companies,
Hey.
industries, you take that on an individual basis. But in the large scale, I believe in the right for workers to form unions. Whether or not it's always the right thing to do, that's another topic of debate. Sometimes it can backfire, especially now with automation. There can be some arguments against it. But
Finally
my
getting some
my
much
answer would
deserved
be
clout.
I
It's much appreciated,
support
Chud,
the right
if you're
for the
watching.
worker to be able to form unions. And there you go. That's my answer.
I'm muted. All right. I'm going to throw it to No Justice.
Well, I would believe in our current neoliberal paradigm of multinational corporations, spiraling cost of living, and the gig economy, the need for worker organisation has never been greater. The USA has a shockingly low unionisation rate. Only 10% of workers are union members, compared to, say, 70% of Danish workers, creating a chasm of unequal bargaining power between employers and employees. Research shows that unionised workplaces are better paid, have better benefits, and have happier workforce on average, shifting the balance of power further towards the working class. Now, the country is currently hamstrung by at-will employment laws, the Taft-Hartley Act, and substantial or union-busting power of corporations, which is why I would suggest a transition from individual workplace unions to sectoral bargaining that would create the momentum necessary to engage with multinationals head-on. Lastly, the need for general trade unions and the repeal of the Taft-Hartley Act would allow for union representation in the party political arena, either by influencing the current duopoly or by funding a new pro-worker political party to directly advocate for the needs of the working class. The coronavirus pandemic has shown us that the working class are integral to the function of our society and have been taken for granted for too long, and it is time for the US working class to collectively demand better.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Hardwood and Salk.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty pro-union. I think they actually serve a very good purpose in our society in protecting, workers' rights from,
Yeah, thank you for all the follows, guys. So much appreciated.
Negotiate better wages, better benefits, stuff like that. That's just like a general, but like there are some negatives to it. Like there are some some things that unions do that I don't necessarily like in regards to like trying to push public health policy or trying to influence elections. I think that it should really be focused more on their workers and keeping it in the workplace and negotiating with management and protecting them from getting fired. There are some really good examples of very strong unions, like the teachers union is a very strong union, and the police union, very strong union, right? I know a lot of people hate the police union, but at the same time, they do a really good job for what a union is supposed to do. I think some unions don't have that kind of power, and I would like to see more of that collective bargaining and whatnot between management and the workers. I think that would be very beneficial for society as a whole.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Spartacus.
I think unions have outlived outlived their usefulness. We've seen again and again and again the outcome of unions. Unions they act as a monopoly. That if you join a workforce, there's only one union you're forced to join. So unions 100% act as a monopoly, and they've got other side effects as well. They cause inflation, they cause layoffs, they cause bankruptcy, and ultimately unions cause outsourcing. And so I think these are all damaging to the working force. I think that the unions have outlived their usefulness, and they need to go away or be rebuilt from the ground up.
Strong words. I'm going to throw it to Trick Switch.
Yeah, I'm incredibly pro-union. I'm a member of my union for my field, I guess. We just kind of have one per like whatever you work in. So if you work in hospitality, there's like a hospitality union. It's not really case by company. Also, they're free to join most of the time. You get it all back on taxes. Unions are the whole reason why I get like penalty rates, which is where you get like time and a half on public holidays. Unions are the whole reason why we have the 8-hour workday, and we don't have to work for 12 hours a day. Like honestly, I don't see a downside to having unions. I don't see a downside to unionizing. It just seems like a good time. Like you get more leverage as a worker. So I think it's really cool.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Chance of Flurry.
All right. Well, I agree with that. I think unions are really cool. I think, union workers in large in the United States, you can see they're paid better. They get, more benefits, better health coverage, more vacation days, more paid holidays, more sick days. They generally have access to the same type of overtime as non-union workers. There's really no downside. It just gives you leverage as a worker who is, obviously at a lower level than your management, to kind of get together. This is why it's called collective bargaining, and just we use our collective power against that of management. I think, that's the struggle that is inherent in a capitalist workplace, and that needs to exist. Otherwise, what are we just going to let management run all over the worker? So yeah, I don't think they've lost their place. I think if anything, we should be expanding unions. So that's where I stand.
All right. Desmond, did you go?
I haven't yet, no.
All right. Your turn.
Yeah, I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness. I think what we're seeing right now in our country is that, workers in the workplace are at an all-time low as far as protections are concerned. I mean, when unions work correctly, and I'm not saying that they all work correctly, but when they do work correctly, they do seem to have a tangible benefit that you can point to. I think the most notable ones, Hardwood and Stock mentioned teachers unions, police unions, but I also want to just mention, some sports unions. Because, in the sport in Major League sports, the Major League Baseball has like a profit sharing with the players and the owners. They share, I think 47% goes to the players. In the NFL, it's 48%. In NBA, it's 50%. So with those like major unions, those workers, those employees get paid substantially more than your average worker would. And when you look at non-union workers, just in other industries, think about health insurance, for instance. It would seem that on average, I think 67% of non-union workers have access to health insurance through their companies, but versus when union workers have up to 94% of them are covered by health insurance on their companies. And also we mentioned that they get paid more. So union workers on average right now are getting about 19% more money than non-union workers, which equates to about $800 a month. And truthfully speaking, if unions weren't really that necessary, if they weren't like a threat, then companies like Amazon wouldn't be going so far out of their way to make sure that unionization efforts didn't happen to them. And as far as I'm concerned, if
Thank you for the follow, Annabelle.
Amazon, and they were obviously threatened by the unionization effort in Alabama, so I'm deferring to their good judgment. They thought it was a threat. Obviously, it must be a good thing for workers. I'm on the side that unions have not outlived their usefulness.
All right. And last but not least, CTV.
Well, what were the purpose of unions back in the day? Right? It wasn't so much about pay, right? It was about workers' conditions. And now we're at a point in history where, like, a lot of the workers' conditions are usually pretty good from the start, right? There's a lot of regulations in place, like OSHA, right, that make sure that, like, certain safety regulations have to be followed, right? There's, like, for instance, with truck driving, right? Your federal laws with regard to the FMCSR, or Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations Manual, right? So, like, that was the original intent of a lot of these labor unions, and now we've shifted it over to, like, the conversation about pay and stuff. And whenever there is a particular job that someone is doing, say they're doing the package moving from this shelf to the fucking this shelf, or whatever the fucking job is, if it's the same repetitive shit that pretty much you could teach anybody to do, there's usually just a set, we can afford to pay somebody X amount of dollars to do this job. So then once the people get in there and they start complaining about, oh, well, we don't like that we're only getting paid X amount for this job, when in, like, reality, if you don't want to do this job, you absolutely can go do something else in order to make money for yourself. So it's one of those where the things that labor unions could actually do would be to start actually taking a lot of look at the labor laws to see which ones would actually be negatively impacting workers, so that maybe they could rein in their government a little bit, so that it would allow for maybe the corporations to be a little bit more efficient with their resources. That way, it would be a little bit better for them to be able to give more of the fucking, money made from the product that they're manufacturing and selling, or the good or service that they're doing, back to the fucking worker. So, do they have a place? Yeah, I just don't think they themselves quite understand exactly what that is.
All right. And with that being said, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I think that in terms of what CTV was just talking about, I mean, what I would say is that we still need someone who can bring that dichotomy between, because if you're going to release the managers and you're going to release the corporation from the bonds of the government, then you're still going to need something to even that out between the workers and management, because as we've seen, when you cut these government regulations, generally what the corporations do is that management ends up being the ones who get all of the benefit. They're the ones who see the hikes in salaries. So it doesn't generally trickle down to the workers the way that you mentioned would. The way that we do that is by organizing and by using our power. I mean, if the pandemic taught us anything, we saw that the guy who moves the box from here to here is part of what they call the essential workforce.
Let me ask you a very basic.
The management is not.
What's
Let me ask you
here-
a very basic question, right? Let's say you're trying to put together a pickup truck, right? Or well, let's just go way simpler than that. Something like a wagon, right? And you've got 5 people, and you say, "Hey, you're going to worry about just the axles. Hey, you're going to go chop down the tree so that we can have the wood here. When the wood gets here, you're going to cut it into slats. That way we can nail shit together. You are running to the hardware store to get the fucking nails, right? And you give everybody a job, and then they go do it, right? And then the wagon gets put together, just as you said, while you're working along with them, right? Who was the most benefit in that scenario? The person that was managing everybody else and putting the plan together. So this is true in anything that you're ever trying to build. So while I can definitely appreciate the argument of the workers, deserving their fair share, absolutely. But it's not to say at the same time that somehow that the people that were putting together the big fucking part of the plan shouldn't be the first ones that end up getting their pay raises because they were using the resources that they had as efficiently as they could to get to the goals that they had.
Who here is part of a union? Raise your hand. Just by raise of hands, who here is part of a union? Okay. And keep your hands raised if it was optional to be in that union once you accepted the job. Keep your hands raised if it was optional.
Oh, optional.
Okay, so Trix and No Justice, you guys weren't forced to join the union?
Single person. Okay. That's not even a thing in my country that.
Yeah, because we have I'm assuming in Australia you have it as sectoral bargaining through general trade unions and through specific trades, right? It's not like in the US where it's all individual workplace unions because that's unfortunately because of Taft-Hartley you can't really do. Whereas I'm assuming I don't really know about labour laws in Australia, but in the UK I'm part of the communication workers union because I work in telesales, so that covers this single union of I think it's 400,000 people collectively bargains on behalf of workers against all of the other of the employees in that.
Did you join that union, or were you in that union because you accepted that job? Because you're in that workforce that you're in that union.
Because I mean, how do you mean? Are you saying that did I have to join because I was in the job I was in? No.
Did you join the union, or was it you were in the job so you're automatically in the union?
No. I joined the union voluntarily.
Okay, so it seems like it may be different overseas, but in the United States, if you accept a job that's unionized, you are forced to join the union. You are forced to pay union dues. These are things you are forced to do. I hear a lot of people.
Unions closed shop unions aren't mandatory in right to work states. There's 27 of the US states are right to work states where closed shop unions aren't allowed. So it depends on where you are in the US in that regard.
Okay, well, there are certain unions to where if you join that job, it's just an explicit you're going to join the union. I understand the right to work. The right to work is a little bit different than what I think you understand.
Like a lot of workplaces
but so everyone's talking about getting paid more. Everyone continues to say, yeah, people who are in unions, they're typically paid more. Here's the issue with that argument. When you go into that they're paid more, yes, that may be true on its face. But when you actually look at it, they're being given a higher wage, and there's not the increase of productivity that goes along with that wage. The increase of productivity.
Thanks for the follow.
When these workers are given a higher wage. So since this is happening through the economy, the government is then forced to print more money, which raises inflation, which means that the money that you are getting that's extra, the higher wage, is now meaningless because inflation's now raised and the prices of the goods that you're wanting to get now cost more.
But worker remuneration in regards with respect to increase in productivity, because productivity has been rising since the 80s. Work remuneration hasn't risen in line.
Yeah, before y'all get off on a different tangent, Sprout, I was hoping you were going to go like a little bit different direction with that. Like it would have made much more sense if with the beginning of that, and instead of going into like trying to bring the government and taxes and everything else into it, if you would have simply said that you would have driven the motivation for people that, as working as individuals, would be able, say they've got, certification A, B, and C down the line to be able to, show this is my experience, right? And then they go into the interview and they let their level of knowledge be known and be able to describe whatever it is they're working on, versus somebody else that may be coming under the same job title but doesn't have all that necessary experience ahead of time. And then they end up more in the position of, say, leading other people simply because they have the level of knowledge, but they're still working under the same job title. And this happens a lot in other companies too. So like the union ends up forcing the labor price across the board, which is, you're absolutely right there. But it creates the dynamic where now the person is de-incentivized from doing labor here, and then the other ones were still doing like half of it from there, and then they get raised up here, but there's not the increased productivity. It was just that the hop over to the government side of it and inflation kind of made me go, whoa, where did he go there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
my third point is, again, the people who are in favor of unions, raise your hand. I'm assuming that's everyone that's not a host in here. I think everyone said they were in favor of unions. Am I correct in that statement?
Yep.
Okay. So if you were in favor of unions in your opening statement, please also raise your hand if you're in favor of like something along the Green New Deal. Okay, so 2 of you are in favor of something along the lines of the Green New Deal. Okay. Do you two understand that the biggest unions are actually fighting against the Green New Deal? Do you know that?
I mean, I don't know with respect to the United States. I know in the UK, all of the trade unions Congress is very in favour of public spending with regards to green energy. So
No,
I mean, and
Well, I'm talking American politics. I didn't really.
I understand.
Honestly, I had an
understand that,
hour
though.
I had an hour to prepare for this panel. I didn't really look at other countries and the way unions work in other countries. So I'm strictly talking about American unions when I'm talking. So I understand why that.
Which
can
unions
confuse
are you referring to, and did they specify why they're against it?
AFL and CIO. They
There's
said
two
the
of them.
plan could cause
Okay.
immediate harm. I said 2 of the biggest unions. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure what their reasonings are, why they're against it, but I do want to push back on one thing that you said. You said that, it would cause, a bunch of inflation if there was a higher rate of unionization in the country. That seems to be categorically not true, seeing as how the rate of unionization in our country was dramatically higher in the 1970s, and the rate of inflation during that decade is pretty similar to what it is today, and the rate of unionization has gone down sharply since then. So, I mean, if that was the case, you would think that our inflation would also
Right,
have
so-
gone down sharply, but it hasn't.
So something about the unions have changed, right? Something about the unions have changed, right?
What is that?
Do you think the unions are the same? I mean, you're comparing unions from
I was
way
just
long ago
going
to
after
unions
the
today.
statement
Do
that
they
you
do they
said
do the same
specifically.
job? Do
You
they
said
do the same
specifically
job?
that the rate of unionization leads to inflation, and I was just saying that obviously
In today's
seem
world,
that
it
way.
does. In today's world, it does.
So in yesterday's world, it didn't though. In the 1970s, it didn't.
So yeah, because if you actually look at unions, they're different in the 1970s.
In what
They're-
way were they not impacting inflation then that they are now? I mean, because if you're going to make a statement,
It
you should
wasn't
say
as much
why
workers. It
is.
wasn't as much workers' wages as it was the safety standards of the workplace.
So they weren't
this
getting
confu-
paid more
did
at
you
that
not know
time than
this?
they are now. I'm asking questions because if you're going to make a statement, I'm asking you to defend your point. So I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't
so
have to
in the
really defend- I'm trying to
1970s,
ask you
in
about your
the
point right now.
1970s, the labor unions were more about workers' safety and the conditions in which they work. That was the 1970s labor unions. The labor unions now hardly ever talk about workers' safety because we have things like OSHA. We have things to workers' safety is pretty much standard now. So the labor unions have moved past worker safety, and now they've moved on to wages. In the 1970s, they weren't extremely concerned with wages.
I mean,
That's not
just
true.
come out,
Okay,
we've just come out of a pandemic. Like, worker safety was paramount.
The question really becomes, were unionized workers getting paid more in the 1970s? It doesn't matter whether or not they were more focused on it. The question is, were they getting paid more? Because that is directly tied to inflation. Because if you're saying that these unionized workers are getting paid more, that would be directly tied to inflation. But if they weren't getting paid more, then you'd have an argument. But it seems as though they've always been paid more.
Oh, let's look it up. Let's look it up, shall we?
That's fine. I can wait.
And also, like as I mentioned, work remuneration hasn't risen with productivity either in the last 40 years. Like not at the same rate at the very least. So the fact that the work remuneration hasn't gone up, in tandem, would also suggest that the inflation, the level to which pay has gone up isn't causing inflation because it's not really gone up in real terms anyway.
You're saying inflation hasn't happened in the United States in real terms?
No, I'm saying that wage increases
Workers'
haven't
wages
happened in real
haven't gone up.
Yeah,
with-
Workers'
with
wages have okay.
inflation.
at least not in line with productivity.
No, definitely not in line with
No,
productivity. I
definitely
agree
not.
with you there. Let's see. Union wages versus non-union wages. Did you say 1970?
Yes.
All right, let's see here. I mean, this is an awfully specific stat, so it may take me a second to find. So if someone
that's
else
fine.
wants to talk while I look,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I
So
think just for comparison's sake, just know that like it seems like the current difference is that unionized workers today get about 20% more in pay. So if you want to compare that with whatever you're looking for.
Okay.
So another negative that like I have seen with unions, like I used to be part of one, I'm not anymore, is that like if you want a day off, I guess it all depends on their certain contracts, but let's say you got in a car accident, right? Or no, that's too specific. Let's say you got a flat tire on your way to work, right? And you can't make it. Well, there's no difference between that PTO day and like a PTO day if you just had like a death in the family. Obviously it's contract specific, but so whereas a private company, they can give you discretion, like for instance, the company I currently work for, they, if there's a death in the family, they'll give me bereavement pay, for like a few days. And if something comes up and I need a day off, well then it's they're a lot more willing to accept it versus if you're in a unionized job, well, you can't just take off all willy-nilly, and still get paid for it. So like that there are discretionary issues with unions where it's like very regimented and very structured in regards to the way that you're like you the worker are dealing with management, and it's all up to you whether you think that's good enough for you or not, and also like I know Desmond, you said that they on average they make 20% more or whatever, right? But they are also taking out union dues, which is what Sprout said, so you are kind of seeing a little bit of reduction, maybe not that much. It depends on the union, how much the dues are, whatever, right? So like that's another kind of negative thing, and who knows if they're going to actually use that money to fight for what you want. What if you want like we'll take the teachers union, right? Recently, right? Emails were released that they were pushing for masking in schools, right? Where the CDC didn't originally have that policy or that guidance in place, right? Well, what if I'm a teacher, I'm paying union dues, and I don't feel like they should be doing that, right? Well, then you're not being represented necessarily by your union. You know what I mean? So like there are backs and forths there where it's like it's not always a positive thing, So
yeah, but unions are. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, but unions are democratic organisations, unfortunately, and sometimes and in teachers' unions with regards to that, I'm assuming there was a ballot for this particular issue, and they've decided democratically that they would like there to be a mask mandate.
Well, not necessarily. Well, all right. So for like I was part of the AFA, right? The flight attendants union, right? I never got to vote on anything that they did, except for my contract. That's it. I didn't get to vote on what kind of publicity they put out, right? What kind of messaging they had. So to act like it's like a direct, like democratic, representation of like the flight attendants as a whole, it's not necessarily true, right?
Do you not elect a general secretary or something, or
what's that?
Do you not elect a general secretary?
well, we did for like our region. All right. But I didn't
Right.
have a say in who like the head of the AFA was, because a lot of different airlines made up the AFA. Right. So
Sure.
it's kind of like I know like unions probably work very differently, in certain areas, but in some aspects, and like Sprout said, I wasn't allowed to not be in the union, right? If I decided I didn't want to be in the union, well, I could kiss my job goodbye, So it's like I'm being forced into this, right? And they're not necessarily representing my values, right? And I'm not necessarily getting a say in it. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate them being there for like my workers' protections and my pay and certain benefits and stuff, which is great, like that. And like by putting in work rules with the company, so this way I'm not being used and abused. You know what I mean? Like there are very good things, but we have to take the good, and like we have to recognize that there are some sort of negatives there too.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
Suck.
a lot of these things that you brought up, I think, were issues generally with like sometimes, I mean, obviously the collective agreement that's being made or something like that, right? So these are specific to certain unions. And yeah, I mean, we definitely see.
Yeah, coherent based worker co-ops. Unions are just a democratic replacement for what worker co-ops would otherwise be have these for.
Some of the ministries, what they offered in terms of fixing, if one of their workers has a political issue with the way their dues are being spent or something like that, they can put in a form, opt for a portion of their dues that doesn't go towards, militating directly for their workers' rights or whatever. Any portion of their dues that would go towards action outside of that can be brought back to the worker, and then they can use that money to donate to any organization that's more in line with their politics. So these are like some solutions that can be brought in. So obviously, there are definitely some ways to make unions better. But I think that's just a way to that's where the conversation should be going, rather than, should we have them at all or not?
of course, and that's kind of like the position I'm in, where it's like I want to point out these negatives and get them better, versus just doing away with them. You know what I mean?
Sorry. I was gonna say, would you support a democratic restructuring of the unions then to be more representative of the workers' needs?
Sure. Like if you were allowed to like vote on like every single thing, that the union wanted to do or whatever, or, obviously that's depending on how big the union is, that could be actually a really big issue. But like, yes, in short answer, yes. I think like that would be perfectly fine, because then it's like, all right, then it's kind of being run basically how, a country's run, right? Where it's like, you vote on certain things and sometimes you get your way and sometimes you don't, so like, and you can't really say anything about it if you, actually, I mean, if you're participating in the system, like, I don't know.
Don't go down the rabbit hole.
What rabbit hole? What rabbit hole are you going down?
People not being okay with election results.
I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole because I think it's funny, but
I just want to say one thing about unions in general. I don't think that the question wasn't phrased whether or not that they're perfect. I don't think anyone's going to level that claim. I mean, obviously unions have their issues. Some unions are corrupt. We all know that. Some of them don't function as well as they should. Some of the people involved in certain unions take advantage of the people who are inside them. So it's not like it's a one-size-fits-all conversation. There's just, I think when you put it on average, it seems to be an overall better, because you mentioned the fact that, okay, people who are in unions, they'll have to pay dues, so that money kind of gets like retracted a little bit for how much extra they're making. But that's also not taking into the fact that, again, like I mentioned before, people who are in unions, I think 94% of them have health insurance versus 67% of people who are outside of unions have health insurance. Now, when you have health insurance, that's considerably less money you have to pay if you have to go to the hospital for any reason. On top of the fact that people who are inside of unions also have sick pay, usually because they have sick days. So that's less money out of your pocket that you would have to take if you have to take a day off for being sick, for instance. And you have overtime pay, bereavement. These are all things that people outside of unions don't normally have. And so when you take the full measure into it, the full picture, then the actual rate of pay is even higher than it probably comes out to be. So I'm just going to say it is a little bit more of a complex picture than just like what is their take-home pay.
So that's what's
Today for full-time jobs is what I'm not talking about contracting. I'm talking about being an actually employee. You're saying today that people don't have bereavement leave, people don't have vacation days out full-time jobs specifically.
No, I didn't say that. I said that on average, union workers have higher rates of these things than non-union workers.
And a lot of the times,
It's
shops that are outside of unions also get those benefits given to them because of the unions that exist in shops in their industries, like right next to them. Like, for example, there were 2 steel mills just down the street that kind of operated. One was unionized, one wasn't. And the guys who worked at the non-unionized shop were really happy because they got all the benefits that the guys at the non-unionized or at the unionized shop fought for. But they didn't have to pay dues or anything like that. So, a lot of these benefits that you see in these non-unionized workplaces are gains that were gotten because of unionized workplaces.
So I'm not saying that unions haven't done any good. I'm not stating that at all. What I'm stating is that unions have they've outlived their usefulness. At this point in time, it's not useful for unions to continue to exist among common workplace.
I don't think that's true at all. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trix. I've been talking.
Sorry. The support though that unions offer their workers, I think, is unparalleled in terms of like the resources that you get. So the legal time between 10-hour shifts at the moment, or even 12-hour shifts, is 8 hours. So I could work 12 to midnight, go home, and I could start 8 a.m. the next day for another 12 hours. If overnight my boss decided, hey, that's bullshit. I actually don't like that. It doesn't work for my business model. We're going to bring that down to 6 hours. Outside of just quitting your job, how would you dispute this? How would you be like, hey, that's illegal. That goes against like the labor laws of my country or my state. Outside of being like, well, I'm going to join a union and then use their legal resources to fight this and get my boss to stop cutting my breaks.
Wait.
Because unfortunately his best isn't very good.
How would you fight that outside of a union? Is that your question?
Thing is, like, I think that the resources that union offer, like the everyday worker, I think are priceless, especially with the whole like pandemic and people don't have expendable resources. Like people are barely making rent. I don't think people have like the time, money, or resources to be like, well, now that my boss has fucked me over, I'm gonna go grab a whole team of lawyers. I'm gonna check out all this legislation. I'm gonna take not only my boss but my whole company to court over this one little thing. Like people can't do that while also working a full-time job. Yeah, but
you sue them.
Most people, like, if they're working this job, they can't afford to go off and like hire a lawyer. And
most lawyers, when they do this kind of court case, take their profit from whatever you win from the court case.
That's
you typically don't. It's most of the time true. And if you're talking to a lawyer that doesn't have that, then go find a lawyer that does. Most of the time, when you talk about workplace standards, the lawyer will actually take its profit from the court case, from the winnings of the court case, and you typically don't pay the lawyer. They just take their profit from the court case.
Yeah, but a lot of pay releases don't do that because then it's like if they don't win, they don't get paid for any of their time. But what I'm saying is, like the average everyday Joe can't be like, oh, now that I'm working 12-hour shifts every day, I really have the expendable time to go out and search for a lawyer to help me win this. Like, if you're already part of a union, you literally, like, I've done it before, you make one phone call and they're like, yeah, we have a whole team on the case. We're going to open up a thing. We're going to get it started and we'll contact you with updates. It's really, really easy. And I think that it makes getting help, like, the accessibility of it, I think, is worth keeping unions around.
And for example,
unions don't actually do anything. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, unions don't actually do anything in terms of money. If they get, like, penalty rates, so if you work on, like, a Sunday on a public holiday, you get time and a half. That's not just the union members. That is the industry as a whole. Every single restaurant, every single, like, labor thing in the industry, they all get the same benefits. There's no difference in terms of, like, if you're in a union, you get paid more.
I was going
But
to add to
if
that
we
by
take a look at
saying,
this,
spare with the sorry, spare. I was gonna add to that as well as saying is that you get when you have sectoral unions as well, you then get union representation in your disciplinary procedures in your workplaces, right? So it minimizes, these kind of processes from going awry in the first place without having to go down the whole rigmarole of going through litigation, which for someone who's working however many hours a week and is a member of the working class and has all of these other things on their mind is something they really don't have to deal with, which why having it sorted by the union is just, it's well worth the, £8 a month I pay.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at unions in real life. Let's look at unions as they exist, right? And again, I'm speaking about American unions, so I'm sorry, Trix and No Justice or anyone who lives up in Canada. I'll be referring to American unions in the American automobile industry, right? In the American automobile industry, you see layoffs, and these are quite consistent throughout time. You see bankruptcy. It's because the automobile union, the automobile shops, they're unionized, and they can't afford to continue that unionization, and eventually you see outsourcing. Like you've seen this time and time again, to where the United States has actually had to give these automobile companies money, that way they don't go bankrupt. Like you've noticed this, right? Or does anyone have another reason as to why they're going bankrupt versus they're unionized and the union is bankrupting the company?
Wait, you think that automobile industry was going bankrupt because they had a unionized workforce?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay.
That's why because it's actually
that's one
cheap.
hell of
No,
a straw man
it's
argument.
actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper for the automobile industry to outsource
They never do sound their best, unfortunately. Although I do enjoy Sprout and CTV for the memes.
than it is to have it to run a unionized shop inside the United States. Without a
Okay.
doubt.
I mean, that is true under the current legislation that was passed by the Trump administration.
So
Right,
we're
yeah.
losing jobs,
Underneath
right?
those tax cuts, yeah, they did make it cheaper for companies to outsource products outside the U.S. That's absolutely true, but I don't think that's indicative of a unionized labor force. Because if that was the case, then why aren't all companies that have unionized labor forces going bankrupt? I mean, you can't just take one example and say, see this one example, see it didn't work out over here, so that means it's bad across the board. That's not a
think
good
he's-
argument.
Yeah, but
saying that
single one of these industries, right, is going to be unique into itself. So he picked out the specific example of automobile industries, and while that did have a fair amount to do with trade agreements, as to how it ended up settling where it was at, what he is saying and arguing is that it is better for the corporation to go to another country, right? Where they don't have to worry about, say, the same types of ideas and laws that are here in the United States with regard to unions over there, because that's not something that they have to worry about. And I think that it's highlighting.
Oh, that's Trix. Thanks for the follow.
That the same laws that we have for these things in place here is not in place in other places, and that's exactly how the corporations, when they're working overseas, look at this, and then that's where you start to see some other things like that go on. So is that fair, Sprout?
yeah, and then it ends up with Americans losing jobs. And the people who did work in the automobile industry are on unemployment, not sure what to do because the other automobile industries aren't hiring.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. I think the point that I'm trying to push back on is that just specifically saying that the only reason that a corporation would offshore jobs is due to the unionization of their workforce is just not factually true whatsoever. I mean,
You don't think so? You don't think it
I'm
caused
trying
that?
to make my point. I'm trying to make my point.
Okay.
I do say that a corporation's main point, the only thing they're really trying to accomplish here, is to make as much profit as humanly possible. And so why would a company try to offshore their jobs, offshore their equipment, so on and so forth? Because there's cheaper labor forces everywhere else in the world. And so if nothing else, you might be making my argument for me. Because the point of having a labor union is to protect the rights of workers. If corporations are willing to ship their jobs somewhere else, then they don't give a damn about their workers. They never did. They just care about making profit. So you need something in place to protect the workforce of the American people from corporations who don't actually care about their workforce. They care about their profit. And so if profit's the only thing that matters to these people, then someone needs to be in place to safeguard them. And
But if
so,
the
yes, not
union-
every single labor union is great. and you're citing the automobile union. Obviously, maybe they didn't do their job correctly, but one union failing isn't an indictment of all labor unions. The same when we had conversations about the police, and you say that like, oh, because you have like a few bad police officers doesn't mean that all police officers
I'm
are
against
bad.
police unions too. It's all cool.
I'm just saying you can't use the idea that like if you find a few bad spots here and
I
there,
mean,
then
do you
the
want to
whole
talk about
system's
police
corrupt.
unions? You want to talk about police unions? We can talk about police unions.
I mean, we can, but that's not what I said. I was talking about the police in general. I wasn't talking about police unions. But I was just
Yeah.
saying
Like
you
the few
can't.
bad
You
apples
can't.
analogy.
Yeah,
you
the
want
few
to
bad
talk?
apples
You
analogy.
want to talk about the VA union, the Veterans Assistance Union, and how they
Are
failed?
we switching
Like,
subjects, or
what
can I
example?
finish
What
I was
example
saying?
do you want to go over? Because I offered an example, and you're like, this is one example. Okay, you can't say that all unions fail because you
It's just incredibly, incredibly smooth.
and we'll go over how they failed.
Okay, the NBA.
The
Players
NBA. Oh,
Association.
so you're gonna go.
You
you're
said
gonna.
give you one example. I gave
you're
you one
literally
example.
you're literally going to go to the union where people are making millions of dollars a year.
You said give you one example. It's not my fault. You chose a bad way to phrase it. Rephrase the question.
Well,
Okay.
it seems I got to be honest. It seems a bit far and away from like more towards the baseline worker, right? To bring up the example of the NBA, considering we were talking about automobiles and other industries like steel mills was brought up earlier. These are more like
He
to the
said, give me
ground
one
jobs.
example. I gave him one example. I'm just saying.
I just
Okay,
find it. I
I
find,
didn't
I
say
find
it
it
couldn't
funny.
be the NBA.
I just find it funny that in order to prove unions work, they have to go as far out to say, yeah, these people make $50 million a year. That's why unions work, okay? Because of the NBA, because of the NFL. Look, unions are working. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year,
Well,
and
hey,
there's nothing
let's
you
be
can
fair
say that
for a
goes against
second.
that.
Let's be fair for a second. Earlier, when you were having a hard time making a point, we all gave you about 20 minutes to collect yourself. So if you want to give me the same amount of time, I'll go do some Google searching of my own.
Feel free to do some Google searching. Feel free.
Okay, they'll be fair at that point.
I mean,
All right.
I want
And
to
try-
go for another
try to-
example.
try to
if
keep
you just bear with us.
Try to keep it to
Sorry.
like the working class, right? Not the $50 million LeBron James. I don't even know how much he makes. It's probably more than that. Let's leave LeBron James, NFL, like keep it to the main working class, right?
Well, let's take a look at some.
Definitely.
Let's take a look at an example let's take this example, which is a good case study. Is Toys R Us in Sweden, right? So
Okay, we
a
can do
Sweden-
that just a sec. Before we get too far away from Desmond, I want to kind of close this up nice, neat little package. Go back and listen to what I said at the beginning of the VOD. And
Yeah.
this is where like labor unions might be a little bit more useful in actually trying to combat some of these laws, right? And actually pushing those things back down so that it does actually allow the American market to compete in that way, right? So that's where I was alluding to that earlier. Sorry, no justice. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, it's fine. Trying to finish off that point. I was going to say, in Sweden, Toys R Us were desperate to open up, to be able to trade within Sweden, right? Now, Sweden has 89% union coverage across sectoral bargaining. So, but Toys R Us have an international policy of never dealing with trade union organisation. And they were desperate. They litigated for, 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever it was, to try and be able to not have to deal with the union. And at the end of the day, they collapsed and they started trading in Sweden with a unionised workforce against their international mandate that they would literally do nowhere else. So the idea that they were just going to lose all of our jobs if suddenly everywhere is unionised. 89% is sectoral bargained in Sweden. It's incredibly high compared to 6% of working people being under unions in the private sector in the United States. So I don't see that. I mean, maybe there are certain industries where this outsource is more likely to happen, but it's not like places with high levels of unionisation just have a complete dearth of investment or a complete dearth of businesses for the working class to be able to join and still have higher wages. I mean, there is no minimum wage in Sweden, yet sectoral bargaining agreements are so strong, they get paid triple the federal minimum wage at a base standard for a cleaner, for example. Or the federal minimum wage as it is in the US, rather. So,
Do you think this helped? Do you think this helped Toys R Us? Do you think that helped Toys R Us, or do you think that hurt Toys R Us?
I mean, I assume it helped them to want to open up trading within Sweden and increase their profits. They just weren't allowed to engage in as much labour exploitation and value extraction as they would otherwise have done had they not had to kowtow to the union sectoral bargaining agreement.
In America, almost every single Toys R Us, if not every single Toys R Us, closed. Just to bring a little bit.
Well,
got
that's
bought out.
that's not because of unions though.
No, they actually got.
I mean, we're
just got
talking about
bought out
Toys R
again.
Us. They closed. I mean, can you tell me why they closed? If it wasn't because of unions, can you tell me why they closed? Because it's about the same time.
I will do a sprightly Google.
It wasn't the same time. It was years apart, wasn't it?
Honestly, it's probably online shopping.
Sprout. They actually just got bought by Macy's, and they're going to open 2 brick and mortar stores.
Oh yeah, they got bought out. I understand that. I understand they got bought out. But we're also talking about Toys R Us. We're not talking about Macy's. We're talking about prior to Macy's, correct?
Well, yeah, no, 100%. No,
Okay,
I was
so,
ju-
yeah,
I
we're
was
talking
just
about Toys
adding
R Us.
I was just adding like a little fun fact in there, like, oh, they're actually still trying to make another comeback in brick and mortar for some
They're
strange
still
reason.
fighting.
Yeah, they're fighting the good fight, but I don't know if it's gonna work out.
No, that's actually a big problem. A lot of American companies go overseas, and it's like, oh, actually, you can't exploit your workers. We have because of unions, we have like states' rights, and we have like a full like country rights saying you can't treat your workers this way. You have to give them this many breaks. You have to pay them this much. And rather than dealing with that, I know a lot of like American companies just leave. They're like, actually, not worth it. We're too anti-union to even, and as a result, they lose profits because they just don't even want to try and open up like business overseas.
I mean, if they didn't go to Sweden, right? If they didn't go to Sweden and didn't do that, then that wouldn't have been an issue, correct? If they didn't try and open stores in Sweden.
What wouldn't have been an issue?
What we're talking about, right?
Yeah, like they only had to deal with the unions
Oh, yeah.
in Sweden.
Yeah, because American unions just like the amount of like you don't even hear about like union busting. Like I don't even hear about that like in my day to day in Australia, but like in America, union busting is like a massive thing. Like some people are incredibly and you know why people are anti-union? Because the company itself knows that they could, if they exploited their workers to hell and back, they don't care if their workers die on shift or if they pass out like while they're lifting the boxes. They don't care about that. If they could exploit their workers to hell and back, the amount of profit they would make, you see this with Amazon all the time.
They
You also see this with
propagandize about it
Walmart.
super hard. Yeah, they. I remember when the
Yes.
was it in I forget the location it was with the Amazon organization where the ballot failed to bring about the organization of a union within that particular Amazon warehouse because Amazon went full hard on union busting against that and doing essentially agitprop against the idea of unionization to scare
Yeah.
people out. People thought they were going to lose their jobs if they tried to join the union, which obviously is nonsense. But they thought
And
that
illegal.
because of how propagandized they were too.
Yeah, like the whole idea of like like playing videos of like, hey, if you're thinking about unionize, watch this video we made on it. That is fully just illegal in a lot of countries, and it blows my mind that union busting is such like a powerful force in America.
That's why there needs to be a Labour Party in the United States. There needs to be a party that is the political wing of the unions, because we can't remove the Taft-Hartley Act. We can't remove right to work. We can't influence the National Labour Relations Board unless there is a political wing of the union movement, which unfortunately the Democrats are not. The Democrats are still under the control of corporations. They may have some union representation, and whilst I am happy that Joe Biden is the first Democratic president in a very long time to be outspokenly pro-union, it's not good enough, and we're never going to be able to get to the point where we can have proper sectoral bargaining in the United States and have union busting being a thing of the past. We can't do that unless there is a political wing, within the federal government.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have an example here. So I have one example. You have to forgive me. I don't have the fastest fingers in the world, so I couldn't figure out 4,000 different examples of unions that seem to be working currently. But from what I have here, it looks like the National Nurses United Union seems to be a pretty good one. I couldn't find anything negative about them truly. It seems like they have an enrollment of around 150,000 nurses across the country. It looks like the average pay for a non-unionized nurse is around like $77K in America. The average pay for a nurse within this union is around 120,000. Also, on top of that, it seems as though that they have pensions for nurses that are within this union. And so that's not what I could come up with to answer your one question about, name one union that seems to be working out pretty well here. Again, if I can have a few more minutes, maybe I can find a few more, but it seems as though there are some
That was in Minecraft, by the way, Twitch.
doing the good work. And if you want to talk about whether or not these nurses are bankrupting their hospitals, not true whatsoever. I mean, if we go back to pre-pandemic time, 2019, hospital profits are at the highest margins they've ever been, ever, literally.
Okay,
ever.
is that because of COVID?
Thank you for the follow.
Because is that because it's a
obviously
current pandemic right now? because
I'm saying that their unionized workforce was not detracting from their profits, as was the previous point that you were trying to make.
Okay,
And so in
but
this
your
particular
entire
case-
point based off nurses was that they're making more money than they ever have. And
No, I said
looking
the
at that
hospitals
out,
make more than they ever had.
I'm sorry, hospitals
I said
are
that-
okay. Hospitals are making more than they ever have. Looking at
Yes.
that through this lens that you're trying to push off is that it's fine, it's unionized, but they're making more than they ever have, without looking at that there's a global pandemic going around in which hospitals are extremely necessary and have a lot of
pulling out
in and outs about it.
2019 stats.
You're pointing at
These are
20. So you said since 2019. You said since
No, I said
2019. So are you talking about 2019 or 2021?
In 2019. I was going
Okay.
back before the pandemic. So
Okay, 'cause you
before the
said since,
pandemic, in
so-
2019, I apologize. I meant in 2019, hospitals were receiving record profits at the time, and obviously their unionized workforces weren't detracting from their profits whatsoever. And plus, these unionized nurses seem to be making dramatically more money than their counterparts. So I did my job, everyone. I got the one thing that wasn't the NBA people, the one union that's doing good. Did my homework. Give me some clapping.
If you go outside of America, you will find a fucking plethora of unions that are doing incredible work and that haven't ruined an industry. The RAF, FFWU, MIA, literally. I know that you guys are talking specifically about America, but unions work so well. There was the whole thing a few years back where a bunch of McDonald's locations in Australia there was this the bosses were pretty much saying, hey, drinking water on shift, you can lose your job by doing that now. If you take a sip of water in the back room or literally at any point on while you're clocked on and it's not on your 5-minute break that you're allocated, you can get fired. And the government was like, and the unions were like, hey, that's fucked up. You should be
Can you
allowed to
date this?
drink water. I can, if you give me a minute, I can find dates for you. But they were like, sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. They were like, yeah, this is fucked up. People were like passing out on shift, because they're working 8-9 hour shifts without any water. And unions fought for that. And now it is international across the board in all of retail and fast food workers, workers, regardless of whether or not you're in your union, you get rights to drink water on shift.
God forbid.
Okay, so
Yeah, well-
again, I'd like a date for that and see if it's actually a present day case. I feel like that's
Here we go.
much
10th
further
of
back
January 2019.
in America.
Oh.
No.
I found a date, but it wasn't an American date, so I don't think it counts.
Not in Sproutacus world.
Did you say an American
Or is it
date?
those- Or is it the Sproutacus
I
world?
Yeah,
didn't
you guys
realize
write your
dates-
dates weird.
It's just
I didn't-
written differently.
No,
What do you
it
mean
was
an
like
American date.
I'm saying I found a date, but because my example wasn't American, I don't think that Sproutacus is going to take it as valid.
Is it Sproutacus or
Why-
is it the
why would it
Sproutacus?
matter who
I need
you're
to know these
dating?
things.
Whichever one.
Just
doesn't
because
really
they're
matter.
American, that's all.
I would never date an American. Do not propaganda.
Somebody's got to make some people laugh around here. Fucking tension in the room is fucking palpable, right?
Why
So,
are you
like-
standing? That's my question.
Because he's adding tension to the room.
I'm just sitting here trying to keep it chill,
You're
right?
not sitting though. You're standing.
Is that making everybody nervous?
I'm just wondering.
I'm not nervous.
I mean,
okay.
it's a little intimidating, CTV. Like your strong, presence.
Very dominant.
You're bringing like the alpha wolf out. I feel it.
I feel like you need a pipe though. If you just add a pipe to your look, it'll be complete.
Nah, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got the vape. We got the vape. I mean, it's the cloud, right? You
Yeah,
see
it
the
does.
cloud.
Desmond, something you said earlier
Yeah.
though about like in regards to like insurance, how like
Yeah.
unionized people are more insured than non-unionized. Well, like aren't like a lot of like the non-unionized people, right, working for smaller businesses, and I believe corporations and businesses that are of a certain size have to offer health insurance to their employees. I believe it's only like 25 people too. I could be wrong on that number, but I believe once
on the
they
right
reach
track.
once they reach a certain size, they have to offer an option of health insurance, right?
No, you're on the right track. I think the only issue with the point you're trying to make right now is the fact that so many companies have gone out of their way to classify their employees as independent contractors. And when you have that happening, you have so many people falling through the cracks of, being able to even be offered health insurance in the first place. So I see what you're trying to say. But typically, again, if you were inside of a union, they wouldn't be pulling that bullshit with you, where it's just like, oh, well, actually, you're an independent contractor, so we don't have to offer you any benefits. Haha.
You're talking about like.
So
Real
specifically,
quick,
so
Real quick, one thing. Independent thought. When you're speaking, your mic is doing some weird noises. Sorry. Just.
I don't know if it's him or Sprout, because I know when I'm looking at the Discord, it looks like Sprouts is making some noise too.
I turned my gain down. Am I still making noise?
A little bit when you're not talking.
When I'm not
Can
talking?
you hear it right now?
Yeah, it's
Is
weird.
it making any
Nah,
noise
not
right
right
Specifically,
now.
Sprout. Specifically, Sprout. Probably go into Discord and turn noise suppression on. That way, Discord can do a little bit more to help out. Like, say, whenever you're not talking, because it does start making the sound whenever you're not talking. I sent you a DM and asked. So.
It keeps disabled. Here we go. Let's try this. It's on, so let's see if that works.
IT guru CTV.
Well, it was turned off.
Man
so-
of many hats.
Turn it off and on again.
It's true, right? You see, I got this Navy
Have you
hat.
tried turning off on again?
We just turn
you know.
unions off and on again.
I got the weed hat.
Fix it. Fix everything.
Maybe they would stop
Turn
destroying
capitalism off and on
companies.
again.
But either way,
They got this hat, right?
Oh,
We
Yeah,
could
man
talk
of
about
many
the
hats.
nursing union. We could talk about the
Is-
nursing union. There's
wait.
there's a couple
Oh,
issues that
before
I
we go,
found.
is the sound still messed up?
Yeah, no,
No.
it's good.
Oh,
So I was going to make one quick point, sorry, which was around what we were just previously talking about regarding independent contractors, as well as obviously insurance benefits and things like that too. Now, I want to make the point again, bring back to political organisation with as a union movement is really really important. For example, over here in the UK, the unions were lobbying the government to be able to make it so that some independent contractors had to be reclassified as general workers and be entitled to a bunch of benefits that would come with that through public law. So, for example, Uber drivers are now legally listed as being employees of Uber rather than independent contractors, guaranteeing them holiday pay, because in this country, the unions lobbied hard enough so that we have guaranteed holiday pay guaranteed holiday pay by the state. Employers have to offer us 28 days of paid holiday every year. You get none of that in the United States, and on average, you only get 10. How embarrassing! Like, you don't get any paid sick pay, but federally, you don't get any paid maternity leave guaranteed. What on earth is this? What neoliberalism themed amusement park is this?
I want to say that really quick. I think that the reason why we don't have that in America is because our politicians are trying to save us from the dreaded socialism, because we've been told that if we have things like that in America, then we'll collapse into like a banana republic like the UK, because obviously you have a fiat currency. This is the reason. So we're being protected over here from these things. So we don't want any of your, employee protection. That's all kind of communism.
Nice straw man. Nice straw man. Nice straw man.
Do you like it?
All right.
I took a while to draw that one.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good straw man.
That reminds me of the straw man
wait.
symposium.
I want Sprout to hear Sprout because he's been waiting to talk for a while. Go ahead.
But for the nursing union, I found a couple issues with that, because you wanted to bring up the nursing union. I looked into it, and here's a couple issues that I personally found. That if you're in the nursing union, you must go on strike if the union declares this a need. I would hate to see the union declare a need for a strike, especially right now. For nurses, that'd be awful. Performance is secondary to seniority, with a nursing labor union. So seniority gets first dibs on getting the promotion. Whether or not they're actually good at their job doesn't matter, because performance is secondary to seniority. So then dues are required condition for working with the union, the nursing union. And you have less control over your final schedule. So if you wanted to change your shift or reduce your hours, you have less control over that just by being with the nursing union.
I will concede that some of those things are not that great, but I will combat them with saying a couple things. First of all, not every job gives you the option to change your schedule anyway. I mean, there's some jobs that are basically just like, this is your schedule, take it or leave it. It's a contract of adhesion, more or less. And so to say that that's just like a thing that's specific to this union, not exactly that fair.
Well,
Dues
you
are
get
required
extra,
for
you get extra less control by being in
extra
a
less
union.
control.
Yeah, so you get
That's
less
not
control
legislative.
than someone who's than someone who's not unionized would have.
Okay. I mean, I'll come back to that in a second. I would also say that dues are required for every union, so that's just kind of a part of the deal. But honestly, if you're telling me that someone in that union is getting paid $50,000 a year more on average than the person outside of that union, I'll take the dues. As far as the strike thing is concerned, that would be uncomfortable if they forced you to strike, but I don't see any strikes that have ever happened underneath this union, so I guess it's not
So
really
as
a
long as it hasn't
factor.
happened yet, it's not an issue.
Well, I mean, issues aren't issues until they happen.
No, there could be issues before they happen. You can see, and I work in information security, right? So I work with cybersecurity. You can see an issue before someone attacks the issue. You can see an issue before you're attacked, and then you can fix the issue, right?
Right. I understand.
I don't need to wait till my system's attacked to go, oh my, that would cause a problem. Let's go ahead and fix that before anyone else realizes that's there and tries to attack me. So you saying that it's not an issue because it hasn't happened yet is a little bit disingenuous. It's either an issue or it's not, but it's not. It can't not be an issue because it hasn't happened yet.
Even in the
Okay,
case,
let me
even in the
rephrase
case of
let me rephrase my statement then. It is an issue, but it's not an issue that I think about because it's not that common. The same way I don't really think about things that only happen once every 100 or 1,000 or a million years.
And the thing is, even then, like, industrial action is usually only a last resort. And anyway, even the threat of industrial action, showing solidarity and showing worker power within organisation and collective bargaining, is usually enough to change policy anyway. To even just threaten the strike, especially when you have something something is so necessary and something so key as obviously the nursing profession and things like that. They know they can't really get away with letting the workforce strike by not ceding to demands. So usually just the threat of a strike in these instances is enough to be able to have the leeway within against the employer.
Okay. So I mean, one of the major issues I have is being left out of the conversation is the issue that performance is secondary to seniority inside of the nursing labor union. So if you perform extremely well, but there's someone who's been there longer than you, then good luck on getting the promotion. You have to have the seniority, and then the performance takes into place. So you're talking about you could have nurses that aren't extremely good at their job, but they've been there for a while, so they get the promotion instead of you. Leads up to a bad management scale.
So
I
that's the
won't
case.
really
That's the
how
case in
many-
a
sorry,
unionized shop. But if you
real
look at a
quick.
non-unionized shop, then what's going on is that regardless, if the management just likes you better, you can get pulled up. There's nepotism that happens. This is what that kind of thing is in place to safeguard against. Is so that there's no favoritism, no nepotism, where some guy can just pull up his nephew and make him top of the ranks of the company without him having ever worked at the company a day in his life.
Yeah, but there's
When you
negatives
talk
to
about
both,
systematic.
though. Like, there's negatives to both, right? It's which negative do you want to live with? Do you want to
Exactly.
live with,
Yeah.
like, do you want to live with not necessarily never, but making it next to impossible to promote someone who is doing a really, really good job just because they're not senior? Or do you want to risk, I'm going to hire my son and make him the CFO of my company? You know what I mean? Like which do you want to risk? And I think for like a better business decision would be to allow promotions based on
And
work,
unless I'm wrong,
like the way that you're like the quality of your work, right? And risk, because I would hope that I wouldn't make a horrible decision and promote my son to the CFO of my company because it's a bad business decision.
and unless I'm
bad
wrong, unions
business
wouldn't
decision.
protect against that. Unless I'm wrong, unions would not protect against you hiring your son as your CFO. I could be incorrect,
all
but
that
I'm
would
gonna need
protect
to see
against that.
something that says the union would protect against it.
It depends on the
Trick Switch.
contract. That's
Wait,
fine.
sorry, I want to let Trick Switch answer, and after that, I think we'll go into closing statement. So yeah, go ahead.
I hate this point because there is nothing in the whole world that would protect against this. Because promotions and stuff, none of that is protected under unions because it's just not like there's. I don't know a single union that has stuff in place for this, because as far as I'm aware, in like every single workplace, you're gonna have that shitty boss who's like, "Hey, I know you're really good at what you do, but my best mate, he just joined, and I want to spend more time with him, so I'm gonna promote him to be assistant manager instead." Like, promotions are such like a case by case thing that there is no way to like make laws against it or anything like that, because someone could easily be like, "Oh, well, he does better work than you," and even if that's completely false, it's their opinion technically as the owner of the company being like, "Oh yeah, I just think his energy is a bit better. He's a bit of a team player. He has more like drive." All of this is
Well,
really fucking subjective, and
unions I mean, unions do that though. Unions do talk about promotions. They do talk about wages, and productivity is not considered one of the big talking points when you talk about who gets a raise, who gets the promotion. It's seniority, not productivity, not your skill. None of that is really taken into effect. It's who's been there the longest, so who gets the promotion. It's all about seniority.
do you have any example? I've never heard of unions doing this. Do you have any
The
examples?
nursing
'Cause-
labor union
Okay.
Okay.
in
I'm
America.
gonna Google.
Tricks. I can give you an example that I actually experienced, right? Where like when I was part of the IFA, right? The more senior you are, the more guarantee you have in picking your exact schedule. So it's not necessarily like promotion in a way, but it gives you added benefits just because that you're more senior. So it's not necessarily like the promotion structure, but me when I was like extremely junior, I was on call 24/7, and I had, it didn't matter how good of a job I did, I could, be the best little flight attendant in the world, right? And never be late, 100% safety record, everything. But you know what? Just because of my seniority, I'm stuck on being on call 24/7, even if like my work and my punctuality and everything else might have allowed me to, maybe set my own schedule.
Was that like a
Yeah, because it's weird because in America they all have like individual workplace unions, whereas obviously over here and on the continent as well, it's all sectoral bargaining.
blows my
Yes.
mind?
Yeah, so like I think that kind of goes along the line with like the promotion thing. It's not like exactly equivalent, but just like a example I know a lot about.
All right. And with that being said, I think we're going to go into closing statement, and the noise definitely comes from you, Sprout.
I don't know what it is. I'll figure it out. I don't know what it is. I don't see it on my microphone. And
I'm seeing it, dude.
okay.
It's there.
Sounds like
It's there.
white
You'll
noise.
figure it out. No worries.
All right. Let's go. Sorry. Before going into closing statement, CTV, anything to add? Anything
Well,
to say?
Look, this is going to be your closing statements, right, to the topic. When we get done with that, we're going to go into the last bit that's going to be the most fun part about this thing, okay? So I want to turn those frowns upside down. Let's get through these closing statements, get through the topic, and then we're going to have some fun for a minute, okay? All right, cool.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to throw it to Splanka.
Howdy, yeah, I've been quiet here, but I was more so more on the freedom and voluntarism side of things. So I think it was good for me to listen, but I have not been swayed against or on any other side other than the stance I've taken is that I think unions can be can have bad side effects. We can, unions can be done in or they can have poor stipulations, and there can be downsides to them, but instead of thinking of it in a manner as such that, oh, we should get rid of them, we've outlived its life. It's more so to look at some of the problems and try to ameliorate them, to fix them, and to make these union structures better, because I think they do they do benefit the workers when done properly, and it can be done in a way that's not proper, where it fucks with the employers. So I've not been swayed on any other side. I'm sticking with my opinion there.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to pray to no justice.
So yeah, I would just reiterate a lot of the stuff I said already, which I think that we should be looking at changing the way we think about unions in the United States, away from individual enterprise unions towards sectoral bargaining. We need to support political candidates who are expressly pro-union, because one of the things holding us back towards creating a better union environment in the United States is the Taft-Hartley Act, at-will employment clauses within states, and these need to be be banned federally, as far as I'm concerned. And then there needs, at that point, be more union-based political activism within the political system. So by repealing the Taft-Hartley Act, you'd have unions be able to contribute to political candidates, and therefore we'd see more worker representation within the political system.
All right. I'm going to pray to Sprouticus.
Okay, hopefully it's not still there. I think I fixed it, but hopefully it's not still there.
It's okay for now.
It's still there?
It's in the background. We can hear you, so it's fine.
It's okay for now. It's okay for now, bro. Just go.
Okay. So I stick with my position. I think that unions have outlived what they were meant to do. I think they've moved on to what they deem bigger and better things. They're no longer what they were intended for, and they, like I said before, they act as a monopoly. They cause inflation, cause layoffs, cause bankruptcy, and eventually cause outsourcing. You can see this throughout many labor unions. Maybe you'll be able to find one or two that don't fit that, but amongst most labor unions, you will see this general basis of ideas.
It was like whole countries where like 90% of the workforce is unionized. This is just nonsense.
It's maybe the NBA and NFL, where you talk about people making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So I stick to my original.
His proposed alternative is fuck poor people, let the corporations do what they want. That's literally what he's saying.
Pray to Desmond.
I thought we were going in a row. Okay. Well, I will start by reiterating my statement a little bit. I think that unions have not outlived their usefulness whatsoever. I will concede that Sprouticus made some good points. I hope that I did not offend you with my aggressive attacking of your positions. But I will say that, currently there are coal miners who are on strike down in Alabama as well, and they were currently also demonstrating in front of black.
Yeah, I don't know what Desmond was talking about that. I mean, his argument about inflation was prices going up to ameliorate lost profits due to extra work remuneration in unionized workplaces, but he provided no evidence of this.
I was not able to advocate for every single union in America. I will say that just one or two examples doesn't discount my point either. And so since you weren't able to disprove my point either, I guess we'll just call it a draw for today. But I will say, closing out, that once again, it does appear that people who are in unions have better pay, better conditions across the board than people who are not in labor unions. And so if the goal of a labor union is to collectively bargain with a company so that its workforce can have better conditions, they are in fact doing that, and that is their use. So obviously they are still useful.
If you think that was aggressive, wait till you get to an actual hippy dippy.
Oh, I can go higher. Don't worry.
All right, I'm going to pray to Trick Switch.
Closing statement. I love unions. Big fan, big love. Unions are the reason why I get penalty rates. They are the reason why I get my 30-minute allocated break every time I work a shift longer than 5 hours. And then I get another extra break after 7 hours. Like, literally.
Oh, that's the best Has quote by like a long margin. That and the Among Us emergency meeting quote. Those two, that's like killer.
Encourage every worker to join their local union.
All right. I'm going to pray to Aldwin and Suck.
So, like, in general, like, unions are good. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do to make them better. Better for the companies and better for the workers. At the same time, kind of, even it out and take like the centrist position, like I tend to do, and everyone hates me. I think there are legitimate issues with certain unions in regards to, like Sprout brought up, with seniority. That's a huge issue if you're if you're giving certain benefits solely based on seniority, based on your union contract. That's an issue. Or being forced to join the union, right? Just if you want a certain job, right? I don't think you should be forced to. I think you should be able to forfeit your right to be represented by the union, but still be able to have the job. I don't understand why you can't do that. Because basically you just wouldn't have the union representing you when you go in for disciplinary actions or whatever. I don't see why that's an issue. But in regards to pay and limits on hours or breaks and stuff, I think that's a good thing. So I don't know. There's good and bad. Reform it. Don't abolish it. And yeah, that's kind of what I said.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Chancellor Flurry.
Okay. Sure. So for myself, I think I'm going to stick by what in my opening statement. There are a lot of benefits that come about with unions: greater healthcare, more sick days, more paid days off, more pay for the employees. I think a lot of the problems that we've pointed out today can largely be fixed based on collective agreement or more a more democratic process in terms of the way that we do unions. Or even more democratic process in the workplace. If you want to fix outsourcing these kinds of things, democratizing the workplace is a pretty great idea. In Canada here, and I'm sure in Australia and England and wherever else people are from, got all sorts of great unions. I can name a few, like the Public Employees Union here, the United Steelworkers Union, the Laborers Union. They all do great work with people who are generally considered a lot of times, even independent contractors in some scenarios. And they're fairly well represented when it comes to dealing with their management or any place of employee where they go. So, yeah, I think they've long, anything but outlived themselves. I think we need more labor power, if anything. So, yeah, that's where I'll end it.
All right. And last but not least, CTV.
Well, are y'all having fun? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
That's what we want to fucking know.
Yes.
Are you
Yes, I'm having fun,
fun?
CTV.
Fucking right. Okay. So Danabo's telling me this next topic is supposed to be fun, right?
Okay,
So
good.
if it's fun, Danabo, if it's fun, then we're going to have fun.
There you go.
If it's not, we're going to go on a hunt for Danabo. Okay?
Exactly.
All right.
There we go.
Either
All
way,
right,
we're having
go.
fun.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, at least I understand that in the UK, within sectoral bargaining, they are, so...
All right. Perfect. With that being said, let's jump into the next topic. But before that, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. So please, everyone, in everyone's chat, go follow our panelist. If you like their take and everything, follow doesn't cost anything, and it always helps. So with that, for the next topic, I'm bringing an expert because it's good to have the science and everything ready. How are you doing, Frames?
Eagles fan?
He sounds brilliant. He sounds brilliant.
Muted.
Yo, we got
Another
3 Eagles
Eagles
fans
fan.
up in here. Let's go. Go Birds.
You're still muted, Frames.
He'll figure it out. He's an Eagles fan. He'll figure it out.
On Discord.
Yeah.
Wait.
Hey.
Okay. How are you doing, Frames?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. The Eagles won today.
Hell yeah, they did. Jalen Hurts looked great.
Yeah, he did.
Ah.
I don't feel left out of this conversation at all.
I don't know what sport
Yeah,
that is.
same.
So
Football.
anyway, let's jump into the next topic. which is a question that has divided in humanity since the dawn of time. What is a better dessert, cake or ice cream?
Yeah. Also, I love them. I get brought in for the food topics. You know, that's how I keep this like healthy frame.
What do I do? What do I say? It's like choosing between my children.
Looking for perfection.
It's a real Sophie's choice.
Connoisseur.
Yeah,
This is a trick
absolutely,
question, by the way.
absolutely. Also, the last topic was great too. By the way, I wish I could have gotten in on that one, but next time.
Yeah. All right. So for that topic, let's go into let's go with the like short opening statement, and we'll start by Trick Switch.
Yeah, my answer's simple. Ice cream. We don't eat cake in my household, so every year for everyone's birthdays, we get ice cream cakes, which is just massive blocks of ice cream that you cut in like little slices. Ice cream cakes are the superior.
I don't know what sport it is, D-Hardsty. I don't know.
To frames.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with ice cream as well. Don't get me wrong. There haven't been too many cakes that I've turned down, but I feel like the versatility of ice cream, as Trix was just saying, ice cream cake. Yeah, I don't know how you could go with cake on this one.
Yeah, but is ice cream cake ice cream?
Ice cream
or
cake is a cake.
Oh, I thought the conversation was what's better,
come
ice
on.
cream or cake? No,
I
ice
mean-
cream cake is not cake. I think it's
Hey,
wild.
you can't.
Oh,
No, you can't do
it's
both.
not. But I'm saying instead of having cake, have ice cream.
All right. Yeah.
Wait, what's the
I'm going
topic?
to-
Just so I'm done.
Ice cream versus cake. That's the topic.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
All I know is motherfuckers making me hungry now.
All right. I'm going to phrase
It
to
might be
Sprouticus.
all that weed.
All right, Sprouticus. Go ahead. What's your take on this?
It's definitely cake. There's not really an argument against it. It's definitely cake. And it's not at all because I grew up lactose intolerant and still kind of am. That has nothing to do with this conversation, but it is definitely cake. So it's got to have the good icing though. And don't buy like the crappy icing. Like, oh, I just bought this at Meijer. No, you got to have the good icing. The cake. It's got to taste amazing. So, but there's all kinds of different cakes, right? You can get strawberry cake, you can get vanilla cake, chocolate cake. You can get cake with funfetti inside of it, right? And so it's the argument is definitely cake, and cake will fill you up as well. Fashion ice cream will. So
I'm supposed to be quiet during people's like intro thing, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up then. Hold on. Let me take notes. This is important.
This is why we're bringing experts. All right. I'm going to pray to no justice.
Yeah, so I absolutely has to be cake on this one. It is easier to store. It lasts for longer. You don't have to have it you don't waste a bunch of energy storing it in a freezer. And I agree, it fills you up with nicely as well. And that's probably the main reason would a brownie count as a cake? I don't even know, but I love brownies. I'm just gonna.
Technically, a brownie is a cookie. It's a bar cookie.
A bar is it's like colloidal. That doesn't seem very
Yeah,
cookish to me.
But
It
look, this
doesn't
is
seem
why
like
we
it.
brought. This is why Freems is here, right? It's
All right.
obvious.
But
that Anybody looking at him, he's the
The
resident
dank dessert
expert,
memes.
right?
Yeah.
Freems
You know
knows
what?
his desserts.
You
Respect.
know what? I don't think we're going to go through opening statement. Everyone will disagree with each other. So I'm opening it like right here. You can
Look, so
engage.
it's obvious from the start. It's so obvious that cake takes the cake,
That's
right?
there you go.
From the
Yeah.
fucking
Wow.
start.
Easy.
And look, and
No.
here's the reality. Look,
No shot,
Sprouticus.
dude.
Sprouticus,
This is
you're sitting
terrible.
here talking about, right? Like this, I don't know, it seemed like a really, really hoity-toity cake. Like it was like up here. You know what I mean? But you know what? Like I have a real appreciation for just some Pillsbury motherfucking mix and the Pillsbury strawberry fucking frosting, right? Not the whip though. Don't get that whip shit.
that's
Right,
what I'm saying. The whip shit's
frosted.
the bad shit. The whip
Yeah,
shit's
the whip
bad
shit. Fuck the whip shit, right?
All right,
Yeah.
Trix. I'm coming to your defense here. All right, I choose ice cream. all right, in a big way.
Yeah.
And you guys saying that cake fills you up is like a good thing. I don't know why you want dessert to fill you up, right? You just want to keep eating it because it tastes so good, right? So like that just
Facts.
it
Okay,
doesn't.
that's
It
real
doesn't
nice.
help
I've
your
put on
argument
enough weight
at
for
all.
the pandemic already.
That's got
That's
some real
not
health
help the
effects.
argument.
That's got
I
some
wanna
real
push
health
you back.
effects. If you
Yeah,
keep eating it
well-
and never get full, it's got some real health effects there.
Sure.
Not only
it
that,
I
does.
want to
All
push
right.
back on
not only
something
that,
really
We're
real
not
quick.
talking
not only
about
that,
health
right?
effects. We're
Alright,
talking
right,
about
right.
delivery.
Time out.
You can't have ice
Nobody
cream.
can hear any.
Okay,
Nobody can hear.
okay. Rule number one. Rule number one, first of all. We're losing every time that everyone is talking like over each other, we're losing precious information. So please, this is a serious topic. I would ask you to ask
Very serious.
I didn't get
Ve-
my-
I'm going to
So
pray to
serious.
frames and after that trick switch.
All right, I
Friends,
wanted
go
to.
ahead.
This is like some of the things that were said earlier. Literally everything that what's his name, Sprouticus or whatever. Like they have strawberry, they have vanilla, they have this. They have that's the same for ice cream. That's not like a fucking like for or against anything. Also, if you don't have a freezer, of course, cake will store longer. But I mean, it's 2021. Most people have a freezer. Ice cream stores longer.
Wow,
a cake
that's
will go
elitist.
bad.
That's elitist like a motherfucker.
Well, I'm an elitist motherfucker when it comes to that, when it comes to cake and ice cream.
Thank you very much
never
for the
deny
bits.
that. So yeah, I just feel like none of those points made any sense. Also, I'm also lactose intolerant, and I will still fuck up some ice cream. Now, if there was something in cake where I was like, "Oh, that's gonna make me poop weird," I probably wouldn't eat it. But I will struggle. I don't care if it gives me the shits for 3 days. I will eat some ice cream. Anyways,
See, my thing is, cake is like a by itself thing. You have a cake. Like, okay, a cake on a plate, boring. Ice cream though has the range. You could put ice cream with like strawberries. You could have it with brownies. You could have
Liquor?
it with literally. You could have it in like drinks. You could have it Bailey's and ice cream. Incredible.
yeah.
The range. Cake though, you wouldn't put cake in a drink. You wouldn't put cake with like
You ever hear rum
other
cake?
shit.
I would
I
put Baileys
know.
on cake. Yeah, I would absolutely put Baileys on
You
cake. You
drench
can put
that shit.
strawberries on
Yeah.
cake. Yeah,
You know how
like,
much rum cake
And
you
so
eat?
here's the thing with cake, right? You're not gonna eat ice cream for breakfast, right? But you're gonna
Yes.
have a pancake. You're gonna have a pancake, right? That's
Oh,
cake.
pancake.
You're just saying cake on a
Oh,
plate.
that's
Come on,
a
that's
cake.
Come
definitely
on.
cake. All right,
No,
so you have a
it is
pancake.
not.
You can
No,
put
it's
syrup
not.
on it.
Ice
So
rice
cake,
cake.
You have
cake is
ice cream.
extremely versatile. Cake is extremely.
I do disagree with the whole pancake being a cake. It's not really a cake.
That's like
wake
saying
up and be
lasagna
like,
is
yeah,
a
for
cake.
breakfast. For breakfast, I'm gonna have 2 scoops of ice cream, and I would be good till lunch. No, you get a nice cake, put some syrup on it, and then you eat that up, and then you're good until lunch.
You also put
Hold on,
ice
wait,
cream
hold
on
on,
pancakes.
Hold
Hold on,
on
I
a
got-
second.
I'm
This
getting
is some of the-
hold on. I got
sorry,
a
go ahead.
call coming in. I got a call coming in. It's the fucking Mighty Ducks, right? Remember that one kid, right? Sprouticus, model kid for the cake eater. Just made a good argument.
I want to say this. Whenever we're talking about like cake or ice cream, like how dare you use the example of like this will sustain me longer? What the fuck does that matter? Like no one's
Wrong.
eating like
Wrong. I just want to let you know you're wrong. Okay. Ask my friends. They all know. They all know cake is better. They've all had cake. They've all had ice cream. They'll all tell you cake is better. 100%.
Cake gives you check neck, to be fair.
I don't know if you
Alright.
know me or not, but using Donald Trump as your example isn't going to win me over. I'm sorry.
If anything, I hate it more. Incredible.
Also,
That's because you're wrong.
What do you mean? What do you mean Donald Trump is a bad example? I mean, seriously, guys, all you
That
really
Donald
gotta
Duck?
do, all you really gotta do is just take that big old piece of cake, just put it in your mouth, and it'll taste so good, so good.
Disgusting.
Okay, I don't know what this panel has devolved into, but this is
Can I add
serious,
something?
damn it.
It
Let's
is
go back
serious
on
now.
the
There
track.
is,
Can I
Wait,
add
alright,
something else real quick? I want to add this real
wait.
quick. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to like.
I just want to pray to Desmond. He has been
Go ahead,
waiting
Desmond.
patiently.
I've talked enough. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're leaving out a very important cake here. I'm not even on team cake, but it has to be mentioned. The cheesecake is the best cake.
The
if we're going to have any discussion whatsoever. So,
Yeah.
as far as cheesecakes are concerned, I think all cheesecakes rival all ice cream at
I think
least. At the
cheesecake
very
is the
least.
most overrated dessert that there is.
That's entirely
Dreams, you're
Wow.
doing so well.
Tiramisu is
No, I
agree, I
agree with
dessert ever.
Tricks, you disagreeing with me is I think it's more of a down for you than it is for me, honestly. So
All right,
Damn
but
it.
can I get a show of hands on who thinks a pancake is actually a cake?
Yo,
Like this has me really bothering me.
No.
It's a fried cake.
All right,
It's a fried
Do you
cake.
think lasagna
Call
is
it something
a
else if
three.
you don't think it's a fucking cake.
It's a fried cake.
I mean, technically,
Bread.
pancake is a cake. That doesn't
No,
mean shit to me.
but-
Though.
Yeah, and just to be clear, a cheesecake is actually a custard, not a cake.
No, it's technically a
No,
tart.
it's not.
Call it
It's a
fucking
tart.
custard.
Listen, if a pancake's a cake, a cheesecake is a cake. I'm just
You
saying.
don't.
I never thought I would see right wingers so caught up on labels.
Yeah,
I'm loving
now,
it.
now what about a crab cake? Like, is that considered a cake?
I mean, if a pancake's a cake. I mean, we brought the level
Fish
down so
cake.
far.
Right, like anything that has the word cake in it, right, is now a cake.
Why
No,
would
right?
we call
no,
it
it's
cake
it's not
otherwise?
it's,
Does
it's
that
not
expand
even
a
just
bit?
because it's got the label cake on it, right? A pancake is literally just the same thing as cake batter. You just fry it. You literally just fry it into a circle shape, and then you put syrup on it. That's why that's why the comedians have had jokes for years saying, no, you can't have cake for breakfast. You will have fried cake with syrup on it, okay? Because it is still a cake. And at
Right.
that point, I guess a waffle would also be a cake. So
So, like, what's what?
Not
I'm
a
so
cake.
confused of why we're talking about pancakes.
because a pancake is a cake.
No,
I know,
You
but
make,
what if
no, you make,
that-
you make a
that's
cake with dough, not batter.
No,
Yeah,
you
but
make a cake with batter. What do you mean?
You make a cake
Yeah.
with batter.
Look,
You make
Sprout,
a cake
I-
with batter. You do not use dough.
wait a second. Hold
Bread
on.
with dough.
Do you know what I mean?
Hold on.
Sorry,
I gotta
sorry.
ask. I gotta ask this question, right? Because like, are we just simply arguing cake, as in like just the cake with no frosting, or are we talking about cake with frosting? And if we're doing that, then shouldn't we also be allowing pan?
I mean, Jaffa cakes are legally a cake because of a lawsuit, wasn't it?
Because then this is where the like there could be a way to bridge this gap through whipped cream. You know what I'm saying?
You put whipped
Oh,
cream on
some
both of them.
strawberries, some whipped cream.
Yeah.
You can
ma-
put some
ma- add a
whipped
couple
cream on
blueberries
some
on there.
stuff. You might.
Yeah.
You can put whipped cream on your ice cream. You know what I'm So
Mm.
whipped cream. I mean, you can put whipped cream on a few other things. As a movie from the
Cream
1990s
is
named Varsity
borderline
Blues,
ice cream.
right? We'll show
Yeah.
you. But I'm just
I
saying,
got-
whipped
I
cream.
have whipped cream in my butthole right now.
Okay.
All right, panel's over. We're done.
I want to see this. Though, real quick.
Jesus, Freems, come on, man!
That's
Why is
that's
it
making it to
working?
the intro.
Fucking innuendo, bro.
That's definitely making it to the intro. If I don't see that in the intro, I'm going to go on strike. Okay.
I don't. Okay, here's the thing. This is why I keep talking about the pancake thing. Pancakes are not better than ice cream. We can all agree on that, right?
Depends on the
Yeah, I
ice
agree.
cream.
No, yeah, I would agree on that.
Ice cream.
Depends
So why
on the
the
ice
fuck are we
cream.
talking about pancakes? Like, I don't.
It depends
I
on the
don't-
pancake.
variety
It
of
depends
cakes.
on the ice cream. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Because cake
Yeah,
has
yeah.
more. Cake can be more versatile than ice cream can.
And whoever argued that ice cream cake is not a cake again,
Yeah, it's a
that's
cake.
just wrong. And the fact that
It's
you
not a
chose an ice
cake.
cream cake to choose your favorite ice cream just shows how cake is superior to ice cream.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
ice cream
why
in
this
cake
was
form
a
is
cake
better.
to begin with.
Ice cream
It's a good
cake is not a
question.
cake. I'm sorry. It's just
Ice cream
not.
cake is a cake.
Well,
Ice
now
cream
we
cake
got
is a
liars
cake.
in the room, and I don't appreciate liars.
Right.
Ice
I
cream
think it's. I mean, it could be a
the
cake
best.
with ice cream on it, but like let's say like the ice cream cake you get from Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
Like,
that shit's cake.
That's not. No, that shit's
So
ice
what is
cream.
it?
There's
Is
no
it
cake
ice
in
cream?
it.
Is it straight up?
I don't know what the fuck ice cream cake is. I'm gonna have to Google it.
It's just ice cream.
There's no
Um,
difference between an ice
the
cream
shape
cake
of a
and
cake.
straight up ice cream, is what you're saying.
It feels
Wait,
like we're not
So,
that
discussing.
really- hold on.
Frames. If I work at Dairy Queen, you come in and you ask for an ice cream cake, and I just I go to the ice cream, I go to the vanilla ice cream, and I just grab a bucket, fill it, about maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 inches full of ice cream, and hand it to you. Say, here's your ice cream cake. There's no difference between me handing you that and what you were expecting to receive.
I feel like the quality of these this panel is kind of low right now after hearing that fucking argument. No, because like it's an ice cream cake is just a super frozen ice cream in the shape of a cake.
No, it's got layers, man. You put like that. You put like a crust on it. all kinds
Granola
of
bar
shit.
crust.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Like a
So it's Neapolitan
It's
ice cream
literally-
cake.
No,
Yes.
it's not
That's
inherently.
what I'm talking about. They got
No.
ice cream cake stores around Philly. They're all over the place.
Yes, okay.
Trust me,
Just
I've
because
made
it
ice
has
cream cake, man. It's a cake.
Wait, I feel like we're not discussing
Are you
recipes
doing
enough.
like the basically doing like the
Yeah,
as a person who's made
yeah, that's
ice
right.
cream cakes? Like,
That's
come the
right.
fuck on.
That's
You
right.
guys are asking me questions I can't even fucking respond. This is maddening. All right, so like, just because it has the word cake in it doesn't mean shit. Like, if I go up to someone, I'm like, "Hey, can I have a patty cake?" You know, the little clap game. Is that a fucking cake now? Like, Jesus
can't eat
Christ.
that.
It's not food. What are you talking
It
about?
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Wait,
matter. I'm
what?
just talking about just because it has the
Let's
word
not
cake
stick
in it.
to food here, and then
You
If
should
someone-
have
every
you
food
should have
item has
How about
cake in
this?
it.
should
How
have
about
chosen a
this? If
better
someone-
example.
If someone hands me like a clump of mud and said, "Here's a mud pie," is it a fucking pie?
It's
No,
a pie. Yeah,
it
it's
is
a
not.
pie I
Oh
would
my
never
God.
eat, but it's a pie nonetheless.
This is ridiculous.
Like strawberry shortcake, that's definitely a cake.
I'm
100%.
Yeah, because it has shortcake in it.
I'm sorry, real quick. I need to phrase to someone with really bad taste, trick switch.
I'm currently in Geeks chat arguing whether or not brownie is a cake. It's not. It's a
not.
brownie.
No, a
But
brownie is a
furthermore,
cookie.
we're not discussing recipes. If you go off and you get like a generic ice cream, you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get like the most average. Like you're gonna get ice cream, right? Cake though is so person by person because everyone has a different recipe and a different way of doing it. That you never like. You might get something too
You eating ice
dry.
cream?
You might get some weird wet shit.
I like the
You might-
risk.
No,
But the ice
the
cream is
Could
why
end
would
up
you?
Like,
way
you're talking
better,
about
dude.
Shut
Ice
up,
cream, you're always
everybody.
eating.
Trix is
Sometimes-
talking.
Sometimes you go to get cake and they're like, "Oh yeah, I substituted the eggs with avocado." Like you get weird shit thrown in. With ice cream, it is the most consistent, like you know what you're going to get every time. You can trust ice cream, you can't trust cake.
I disagree.
I mean, that's not
Friends.
true. There's coconut milk ice cream. There's ice cream that's made out of bananas. It's called nice cream. I've heard about that before. There's cashew milk ice cream. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways
Yeah,
to make ice
but you know what you're going to get. You're going to get cold fucking circle in a bowl.
First of all,
No, I can
brownies
get
are
like-
absolutely cake, and after that, I want to fry two frames.
All right, this is actually referring to what you just said. I said it earlier in the chat. This is a real thing. Like, if you don't agree with me, you're objectively wrong. You can Google it. Brownies are a cookie. They're called bar cookies.
No, you're wrong.
No, it's not even up for debate. It's 100%.
I don't know
Google it.
why we brought Frames in here. I really don't know why we brought Frames in here. Frames literally came in and he's just saying that nothing is cake besides like your standard birthday cake, okay? He's not willing to
Everything is
actually he's
cake.
not
When
willing
did
to
I say that?
recognize he's not willing to recognize the versatility of cake and how good cake is because of that versatility. You can have someone not like this cake but like this cake, okay? But with ice cream, if someone doesn't like ice cream, typically they don't like any ice cream. But you can not like a birthday cake but like pancakes. You cannot like pancakes but like a strawberry shortcake. The versatility of cake is actually quite amazing
It's not,
that
whoa,
ice
slow
cream
down.
doesn't hold.
Slow down. Okay, look, you said it 3 times. It's versatility.
Yeah, I know.
Versatility, my bad.
Yeah,
why I
I'm
can't
trying. Like you said it through the. If it had to been for the 3rd time, I'd have been like, ugh. You know.
I feel like Frames is
versatility.
a planet from Big Ice Cream. Like Frames is just here to like.
From big ice
Okay,
cream.
I
They
can't
have
even
a-
get through it
They
though.
have a lot.
But all I'm saying is, just because I'd say that, I will say most ice cream cakes are not cakes. It has to have cake in it at least. I would feel like even if it does have cake in it, it's a cake with ice cream on it. Sure, that's a cake. But the ones at Dairy Queen are literally ice cream with like a layer of like chocolate brittle or whatever in the
Yeah,
middle.
but those
of
are
it.
abominations. What are you talking
They're
about?
so good. And here's the thing,
What
like I hate this debate because I do love cake. Don't get me wrong. I do love some cake. But like words mean things, all right, guys? That's all I want to say. Words mean things.
Exactly.
So-
Words
I'm
mean
still hung
things.
up on the
And
whole
cake.
brownie thing.
So
No,
a cake is defined
go
as
back
an
on the
item of
most
soft,
important.
sweet food made from a mixture of flour, shortening, egg, sugar, and other ingredients, baked and often decorated. That is the
Baked, not fried.
It's fried. You can have fried cake as well.
Oh, uh-oh.
Oh, you just disproved your
You can have fried cake as well. Are you saying? Are you
No,
saying?
you said baked.
Are you saying you can't fry it?
You just read the definition.
You said baked.
Yeah, he's read the
Okay,
Okay,
but
guys, I'm muted.
here's the idea, right? Here's the idea: is that you can cook things in other ways and make them. It doesn't change it, right? Like if I have, let's see, what
I think you'll find. I think you'll find that cake is a dangerous drug from Czechoslovakia.
baked potato. You don't bake French fries.
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
What do you
Bakes
mean?
French fries. What peasant bakes French fries?
Have you ever bought a bag of fries that you bake?
Yeah, I throw it in an air fryer.
Air fryer, okay.
Oh my god, fucking Zoomers.
Well, you don't have one?
I don't have an air fryer.
Reeves
I
You don't have an
I
air
should
fryer?
get
doesn't
one.
have an air
Get on.
I will agree. I am on the I want to get an air fryer. I should go get one. I just haven't yet. They do seem like they're pretty dope.
Yeah.
Well, as an
I'm gonna air
elitist,
fry
you
some
definitely
ice cream.
should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as an elitist, you definitely should. That's why I'm surprised, right? I just,
I don't microwave a lot of things. I bake a lot of things, but I heard that I had some tendies out of an air fryer once. Yeah, that's what's up. I will totally do that. So yeah, you guys are right on the air fryer.
Sandwiches. Ice
Huh?
cream sandwiches. A sandwich?
Yes, it's a sandwich.
That's a
Just
sandwich.
to
Yeah.
derail this more.
Wait, what?
No,
Dude,
don't
hot
go down
dogs
the
are
sandwich route.
sandwiches.
Then you're gonna go down the hot dog.
Bro,
sandwiches
if a
route.
taco
No,
breaks
no,
in half,
no.
it becomes a sandwich. If a taco breaks
Purely
the shell down the
ice
middle,
cream
it's a
sandwich.
sandwich.
No, it's not.
It's a
Jesus
sandwich
Christ.
at that
I will
point.
say.
Absolutely, it's
Pizza
sandwich
is
if
an
it
open
happens.
face sandwich.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
so-
it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to break it. I mean, tacos on a tortilla. That's why I wouldn't call it a fucking sandwich, but I would call a hot dog like an open face sandwich. Sure.
All right.
Yeah, but
the
you
ice
also haven't
cream-
presented enough
Excuse me.
evidence for me to.
Geek is just losing it.
CTV, go ahead.
Well,
And go on
y'all
with that
haven't
thing.
presented with me with enough evidence as to why it is that you find ice cream to be superior. I feel like that all of your arguments have pretty much melted away, right? And cake is still
Oh.
staying in the
yeah.
game, right?
Wait, I don't feel like you have said anything that makes cake better than ice cream either.
Uh-oh.
Except cake is still here and ice cream's melted away. Talking about tacos now. So guess what? Cake is
Here.
still here.
Oh no,
We're
my
going out with
ice cream melted away, and now I have a milkshake. Oh no.
Oh
That
no.
Until it all just
Enjoy
ends
enjoy
up on
your,
the floor. Just ends
It
up on
seems
the
like-
floor. Like
it
the
seems
dog's
like
just
you're-
got to lick it up now.
Seems like your
Well, we're
cake has
doing
gotten
that,
all
sir.
dried up and crumbly.
Oh.
Oh no.
Like I'll also say this conversation was basically us talking about all the foods that are masquerading and pretending to be cake. It's also proof
Yes.
that cake is superior, really.
No.
I mean,
Honestly,
No.
it can't be superior.
All these
So many
foods trying to be
imitators.
cake,
No, I actually
Imitating.
blame
just imitating the
cake.
cake.
I
It's a
blame
serious
Big
form of
Cake for
flattery.
trying to. I blame Big Cake for trying to take other things and be like, yeah, this is cake.
Big cake.
Yeah, they're trying to get it all part of their thing.
CTV is a big cake plant. I can see it now.
Yeah, the reality of the situation here, folks, at the end of all of this, because I know Geek was getting ready to take us in a new direction, but like, if ice cream was superior, the old saying wouldn't be, well, that takes the cake. And since
Yeah, I
that's
don't-
the saying,
I got a
and it's
better
been
saying
around
for
since
it.
before anybody
that.
else was here, there's a
I
whole
got a
lot of
better saying.
precedence for this takes the cake.
All I'm
Yeah, I
trying
don't
to
give a
say
shit
is
about that.
Yeah, I don't
if
care about what
Ice
boomers
cream
say.
isn't the superior thing, then I mean, the phrase, like you can't have your cake and eat it too, wouldn't apply. I mean, you can't eat cake, obviously. If
Hey.
you have cake, you can't eat it. Ice cream is superior.
Yeah,
End
you
of
guys
story.
are giving us quotes from like before they could freeze shit in fridges. and
Yeah.
stuff.
That's true.
I mean, I can tell you.
I feel like they're, like,
I'm
dusting
not
off
down the
tablets.
ice. Like I'm not down the ice. I'm not down the ice cream train, right? But I will tell you, Amish people make the best ice cream, and they have no freezers, no nothing. They no electricity, but they make the best ice cream. I would still say cake is better, but
How have
Amish
you
people
tried
with no
Amish ice cream?
technology. 'Cause I live in
Italian ice
Indiana.
How
cream,
you not?
gelato. That's the king of
I
ice
live-
creams.
I live in Indiana.
Little prick. I'm just
All right.
kidding.
I want to
Did
they
this
let
one
you in to
respond,
eat the
and
ice
after
cream?
that-
What, you
I
think
used-
the
I-
Amish
my
don't set up
grandparents-
shops to go sell their wares? Of course they do.
My grandparents,
All right,
my
all right,
grandparents
all right,
used to
all
live in
right, all right.
Lagodi. It was Amish country.
Dude, I
Okay.
got Amish garlic.
Hey, can I add one more thing? And then I'll stop.
Fine.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
So we keep talking about ice cream cake and debating whether or not it's a cake. You know what it definitely is, though? It's still definitely ice cream, and no one will ever debate that.
But it's also cake.
Which is why
Sure.
it's best.
I don't agree with that, but that's the fact
It
that
shows
that's what
it shows the versatility of cake, that cake can in
Or does it
fact
show
be
the
ice cream.
Versatility.
or does it show the versatility of ice cream?
Versatility of
Ice
cake.
cream.
That's not
My
an
bad.
argument for or
And it
against.
can be both.
All right.
Oh
Wait.
shit.
Well, I think
With that being
that the
said-
difference in these things is that cake is like a holistic term for a whole dessert, whereas ice cream is a constituent part of other desserts as well, whereas cake usually isn't.
All right. And with that, I think we're gonna go into outro for this. So quick outro on this topic. Give yourself a shout out. Tell people where they can find you. But before that, I just want to thank Danabo for putting this panel together. He's doing an amazing work behind the scene. So yeah, twitch.tv/Danabo and also shellshockcbd.com. Code Danabo and you get 10% on CBD products. So yeah. And yeah, thank you also to our wonderful panelists. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Had a blast hosting this, even if you triggered the living shit out of me. That was fun. But yeah. Yeah, and with that, let's go. Wait, CTV. Anything to add?
I think it's obvious here, folks, right? Twitch.tv/Danabo. Make sure you go over there and let him know, right, that motherfucking Lego Batman is obviously the answer to cake and ice cream. Duh. Okay, so from there, this right here, panelists, this is your one opportunity where you're going to have the direct ear of Mr. Dylan Burns himself, the puppet master of the Hippy Dippy that creates the drama that has driven Twitch politics for the last year. Every Friday night, you know what's happening, folks. That's why you're here. This is your chance. He's listening. I know he is. Tell Dylan why you need to be considered for the Hippy Dippy podcast.
True. That's a good outro, actually. All right, let's go. Yeah, give an outro and shout yourself out. And yeah, let's start with Sprouticus.
I get, you can find me at twitch.tv/thespraticus, twitter.com/thespraticus, and hey, Dylan should keep me around because I took a run at the belt and there was a corrupt judge. I don't know what I can do about corrupt judges. Okay, I'm demanding a second run at this belt. All right, because and maybe have a little bit less corruptness amongst your judges. Okay, that way it's a fair game. You know, because this corporation really needs to take charge and actually clean up. All right, clean up the corporation. That way people have a fair shot at this belt.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it to Frames. And by the way, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. We're shouting out and leaving, right? That's the
like you will.
We're done with the cake. We're done with the cake conversation. Is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Freems. I'm a internationally known author, astrologer, psychic, healer, broadcaster, and workshop leader. And I've been a karmic counselor for about 30 years. So come check me out at twitch.tv/Freems. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on for yet another food topic. Also, I want to condemn Danabo real quick for even though he asked me to come on, for putting me as a D-list streamer on his streamer tier list. I think that we should call for him to redo it and put me up. I mean, honestly, I'm an S tier streamer. It's there's graffiti in Wells that says so. Yeah, I see your eyeballs, Danabo. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me on, Danabo. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
I can't believe you guys let me say all that bullshit, by the way, without anyone saying anything. I'm none of those things that I said.
I know. I was thinking the whole time, like, wow, really?
I was gonna call you for some help.
By the way, I was
thought he
rated
played
S tier by
Minecraft.
Danabo. I was rated S tier by Danabo, so.
Oh well, never mind. I want to
Hey,
be
it
S
is what
tier
it
then.
is.
I want to be S tier
Yeah,
then.
nah.
Well,
Me and D.
All right, bye guys.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Hardwood and Sock.
Yeah, no, I just want to, have a closing statement real quick on the the ice cream and cake, right? Flies love to eat crap. All right. Have you guys ever been to a 4th of July party, right? Where do all the flies go? They go right to the cake, right? So obviously, flies attracted to crap, flies attracted to cake, cake is crap, ice cream wins, right? Flies aren't attracted to ice cream, right? So self-explanatory.
That's a
All right.
weird statement.
All right. But anyway, I'm a hardwood sock. I don't have like a set streaming schedule or anything. Kind of try to stream like when I can. But thanks for having me on as always. Moderate conservative content. Find me at twitch.tv/hardwood sock. Thanks again, Geek. Thanks, Danabo. It's a pleasure talking to everybody. Some of you for multiple times, some of you for the first time. So it was a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Desmond.
Why should Dylan consider him?
What?
Oh, true. Why should Dylan consider you?
Why should Dylan consider me? Because I feel like I engage in good faith and try to find real solutions to problems, and don't try to stray off topic, I guess.
All right.
And you're an Eagles fan. Hello.
Go Birds.
All right. Desmond, go ahead.
Okay. First I want to thank Mr. Geek and CTV for moderating today. I want to thank Danabo for asking me to come back on. I know it's been a few months since I've been here. I want to thank Sprouticus, who took some of my attacks today and kept a smile on his face. I appreciate that. Didn't let it get too personal down there. If you want to find me outside of here, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Independent Thought. I have a podcast that releases episodes usually every Monday, sometimes more than once a week. And I also have some panels of my own that are on my YouTube channel. Again, just search Independent Thought if you want to find me that way. As far as being considered for Dylan Burns' panel, I'd have to just humbly say that I'm probably not ready yet. I think I need a couple more times down here in some of these panels before I get up to the big leagues. So I think I'm actually making my appeal to Danabo to just have me back on one of these again before I can go up to the big time.
Hell yeah, anytime. All right. I'm going to throw it to Trick Switch.
Hi, I'm Australian content creator. I go by Trick Switch everywhere, and I have a sleeping puppy behind me, and that's all I've been looking at for I'm just looking at my screen at my little webcam. She's so fucking cute. I think that I should be invited to the Hippy Dippy thing, because I'm really cool. And I have good content. You know what else? I'm gonna play the diversity card. There we go. The only problem is Danabo messages me for these things at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. He's like, hey, it's 4 a.m. Are you able to come on at 7 a.m.? No, I'm asleep the whole time. So as long as I don't get messages when I'm unconscious, I'm usually available full time. I don't do anything. I sit at my little computer, I play my silly little games. This is really fun though, and I've loved meeting all of you guys for the first time.
Hell yeah. And to Danabo's defense, it's usually how it works. You get people dropping out
Yeah.
3 hours before shows.
So
yeah.
clearly, what I heard there is that Trick should be a first consideration, right? Not a backup. She'll show up. That's what I heard. Is that right, Trick?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
All right. No Justice.
Yeah, again, as always, thanks again to Danabo and Mr. Geek for the invite on the panel today. I am No Justice. I'm a Britbonger rights activist. I stream evenings British time, which can be afternoon Eastern time, sometimes whenever I feel like it. That's my tag. You can find me on my socials there. I should be on the Hippy Dippy regular roundtable, the main event, for 2 reasons. First of all, is to fix Dylan's clear anti-Britbonger bias. He can't just keep on bringing on Chud logic and think that's enough to, have British people on the panel. He needs to at least diversify somewhat. And second of all, clearly there are a dearth of transgender leftists on the Twitch politics sphere, so we really need to keep up the representation for that particular specific demographic as well.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Splunker.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, I'm the Spelunker. I'm the partner in crime of Chancellor Carl there. Our show is called Chancellor. We're from Canada. We talk shit about Justin Trudeau. If you're interested in listening to any of that, go check us out on every platform. As for Dylan's show, Hippy Dippy podcast, I think I'm a good addition. I don't talk out of my ass. I bring it. I'm good. I'm willing to provide sexual favors, give or take, for the opportunity, for the chance of appearing on the show, and that's my sign off. Thank you again for having me.
Well,
And
yeah,
Carl?
I don't have much to add to that. I would second everything that my co-host has to say here, and you can find us at the exact same spot. Another thing that I would like to add, though, is that if I get the chance to come back on, I would like to show everybody why pie is, in fact, way better than both cake and ice cream.
Here we go.
Get out.
Here we go.
All right,
Shit.
listen, maybe you could be our next expert next time we're bringing this topic. Yeah.
I still want to know how a brownie is not a cake, but you'll figure that out next time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Never mind. CTV for the final word.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. It's been a fun day. It's been a fun conversation. I've laughed a few times. Nobody's cried. So that's good, right? It's good. Nobody cried. Everybody laughed. We had a good fucking time. So appreciate everybody being here tonight, right? Let me ask this clarifying question. Splonker and Carl, are y'all co-hosts? Is that the...
Yeah, co-hosts. We have we co-host our podcast.
I just wanted to make sure that I was aware that both of y'all were offering sexual favors. That's all it was. Right?
I don't
Because you
know
said
how-
you
Carl,
reiterated everything you said. I'm just trying to make sure I know who's offering.
Okay,
right?
okay.
I was
Okay,
acting
okay.
independently myself, but
Let's take it.
I've agreed.
So that
Okay.
I'm just like, that makes sense though with what they said about wanting to make the argument for pies, right? And so from
Yeah,
there,
pie, man.
folks, I'm critically thinking veteran. I had a fun time tonight. I hope you did too, Mr. Geek. I know you had a great time.
Hell yeah.
And with that, unless Mr. Geek's got something else, CTV is out.
Real quick, hardwood and suck. Did you go or?
Huh? Yeah, no, I went.
Okay,
Remember?
okay. I wasn't sure. Like for the whole time, I thought I forgot someone.
No,
Okay.
you're good, man.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Really had a blast hosting this. Yeah, I'm going to say goodbye to my chat and.
All right. See you guys later.
All right.
All right.
Have
take
a
care.
great one, guys.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
So there, guys.
Meeting you guys.
All right, have a
See
good
ya.
night.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. It has been much appreciated. I've just dropped my link tree in the Twitch chat. If you want to drop me a follow, that would be very much appreciated, as I am... let me just leave the audio there, as I would always like to have more people coming back and see my content. If you enjoyed it, if you hated it, then I don't know what you're still doing after all this. Well, that's not good. There you go, that's fine. After all this time watching, I don't know why you'd still be here if you hated it. But I appreciate everyone joining from Chud's chat. Obviously, I want to thank Chud for the raid as well. And I'm just gonna throw it back myself to Demon Mama if we just get this raid set up. Go. Ready, raid is ready. Go, 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 go. Shoo, 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 shoo. Go tell Demon that she's